disappointment. Now the vice president often tell me, since he got a seat as vice president, how many persons have I recommended in this government to serve in the government as presidential appointee? Zero. Every appointment in Nima County was done by him. He and I would discuss something as a brother. To implement it, you will bypass me and do different things. I don't talk on it.
Now you need to deceive us. The thing we saw, it frustrate us. So why can't you lie? Why can't you steal? Why can't you allow the citizens to be? You see, we just tell you. That's why we go tell you. But you fool us. You screw us, you use us and later on abuse us. So why? The government should lie. Why? But that's the question that we ask.
The good person in our whole United Party, that President Bwaka. You want to say that again? The only person that appreciate good among all the United Party for that President Bwaka. The rest are ungrateful. The right, they use you and dumb you. But President Bwaka, if all of them were thinking the President Bwaka and behaving the President Bwaka, United Party will have another chance in 2029. Just for now, they do not regard people that help them. I'm not.
3 of our soldiers were executed on this party ground. 2 at the back and 1 right at the headquarters. The man who shot and killed our people today is a darling boy in the Liberia National Police. They brought him back to shoot more guns. Get ready to shoot. Because we challenge the status quo appropriately.
Inform that the violence or still any student because of their action, it will be the day the entire Bwaka administration will cut down. We will massively violate the students in this country and we'll shut down the Bwaka administration. The day that happens, we have the capability to do so. And if they think this is the renovation project is a joke, let them try it. The fall of the Bwaka administration begin with this. If they think they will tumble on any student in this country or at the university like Garguah and water with impunity, while our children saving opponents and logic in the Western world, while we are subjected to agile power and bad learning conditions here, and the thing will say.
In the first 100 days, no car will get stuck on a major road in this country. And I mean it.
You say you're alive?
It's going down. First floor. There you have it.
That led to decades of war still run deep. But so too does the longing for reconciliation. A reconciliation defined not by political bargaining or by an artificial balance of power, by tribe, region, religion, or ethnicity, but by the equality of opportunity and a better future for all Liberians.
Bwaka can lie, the government, all the ministers in the government, they can lie. You know, they put all hustler, they put a hustler, they lie. Everything they say, they never say the truth.
Today, the supporters of His Excellency Joseph Bwaka presents him as a poor man from Lofa and aside that he will understand the plight of the poor people. Fellow Liberians, do not be fooled. First President Bwaka is not poor like you, not even as me. As Vice President, his office received more money from the government budget than any other Vice President has received in Liberia's history. He has enjoyed some of the best and most lucrative government jobs.
There's this, what I call sort of vicious lie about the fact that Mr. Pewee is gay or bring gay lifestyle to Liberia. It's complete bullshit. When people can accuse you of stealing people's money, when they can accuse you of being involved in war, anything, people don't make up stuff. They don't make up shit. Excuse my language, right? So it's complete nonsense. I'm married, 8 Teresa, 2 children, 5 grandchildren. I believe in traditional family values, so it's complete bullshit, complete nonsense.
Young man, vice president, young man that are vice president, the major stole 500,000. I mean, Jamaica, the major went to, I forget that Jamaica, the majors went to Ghana, the fit, and they may bring it all company in the country. I mean, Kun, they can't reach yourself. Kun, man, you know, Kun, but I want to sophisticated, quiet, hardcore rule in Liberia. But Liberia,
when 2029 come and pass, then you finally leave. Mission is completed. Now, what the rules of engagement? When the war ended, the guy said, the captain, the commander said, mission complete. There wounded out first. All men on board.
Everywhere there is no school, I will put school. And everywhere there is school and school in bad condition, I will renovate it. I told them, towns and villages, everywhere you will have lights in the town for children to play and people to see. I told them, every town will have safe drinking water.
If Charles Taylor is the problem, he will be out of here in the twinkle of an eye. And I say, let well-meaning Liberians come home. If we respect this constitution, a government formed in Accra is a violation of Article 1 of the Constitution. Let them come home. Let that government be formed in Monrovia.
The government that capital road, small, B road, all kinds of places. I think the reason Joseph Boakai will not do much because the old man, the papa is suffering. The papa loves the country, but he can't make it. The criminal there around him, they sophisticated than him. They are sophisticated criminals, so they can't make it.
Your league Costa, God know how to pay people. It's just simple. Costa that accused everybody but himself. Everybody, Joe, we join, we accuse Joe, he killed Joseph Boakai. Boakai still living. Joe, no, you leave better. He made me senator. He almost made Joseph Boakai president until he screwed up. We gave God his glory. Yeah. Well, Boakai, when he screwed, he said, oh, we don't want me.
What's that song?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this edition of... Today is Friday. And it is the 13th of the month of February 2026. Today is a day in my book, in my view, a day that will live in infamy in Liberian law, particularly not the state, but Chief Justice Pewee and his cohorts on the Supreme Court versus a common man. Today, we are going to dig a little deeper. We are going to read some editorials. We're going to look at some opinions. Then we are going to look at what is called canon law versus civil law. And we're going to look at the history of why this particular decision today in Liberia will live in infamy. And I will tell you, like I have told people many times, during the last days of Samuel Kanye Doe, he said, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow citizens, this is not all about Doe. He said, it is not just about me. This, he said, is a town trap. Even if you took me out of here, there's more to this story than Doe. And today, this trap that is being set that called Prophet Key, it is not a just trap. It is a trap that is taking us back into some of the darkest days of the Republic of Liberia. The Supreme Court, not even the Supreme Court, but Chief Bese, initiated this process. He presided over the process. He adjudicated the process. And he sentenced. This process never went through the civil courts of the Republic of Liberia. He was never found guilty in the civil court where he could appeal. Instead, the Supreme Court went out there and found a case that suits her taste, adjudicated, and sentenced. In canon law and natural law, the premise and the foundation for canon law is that even when you are being punished, the punishment should be proportionate. That means if my crime calls for jail time of a day or two, that's exactly what it should. If this case was to set a precedent to derive at a moral judgment, this is now how the Republic of Liberia should be moving forward. This is not a forward march. This is Liberia versus the Supreme Court. Before I go any further, let me read something. We are going to be juxtaposing. Let me welcome the Honorable Pewee. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Gayman. Thank you.
Great. Let me welcome our producer in studio, Myean Torgbean. Welcome to the show.
Thank you all so much, Mr. Gayman. It's a pleasure being here again over the weekend. On a Friday, we're going to the weekend now.
Excellent. We are in the weekend. I'm going to read some editorial. Then I'm going to look at something written by another opinion leader, Mr. Datong. He applauds the Supreme Court for jailing Prophet. He called the ruling a moral reckoning for the Republic of Liberia. We are going to look at that as well. We are also going to look at another opinion from George Wellner. He wrote on why this movement should stand as a warning in Liberia's legal and political history. We're going to look at that opinion. And then let's go straight to the editorial. The editorial is from Front Page Africa, and it says justice is not a commodity. It is a constitutional promise to the people. And they premise this on this case in a place called Pension Town. It's in rural Maserado. A 57-year-old grandmother was raped in broad daylight while trying to earn less than $10 to feed 8 grandchildren. That alone is a national disgrace. But what followed may be even worse. After surviving the violence, humiliation, and trauma of sexual assault, she was forced to navigate a justice system that treated her not as a victim seeking protection, but as a customer who has to pay. Pay for medical referral, she was asked. Pay for the paperwork, she was asked. Pay to transport her alleged attacker to prison. She was asked to even pay for the suspect to sleep overnight in the prison. Liberia laws are clear. The sexual offenses court procedures explicitly state that no fee should be charged in criminal cases, not for filing, not for processing document, not for official services. Yet in this case, the law appears to have been reduced to only ink on paper, meaningless to a poor rural woman who cannot read the very document that are supposed to protect her. This is not merely bureaucratic function. It is a systemic cruelty. Poverty should not be the deciding factor about who gets justice. The grandmother identified only as E to protect her identity lays by penny for gold in modest stream. She does not have savings. She does not have influence. She does not have education. What she has is courage. She reported her attacker. Community members apprehended him. Local leaders rallied around her. But nearly every step of the process required money, according to the government. Money she did not have. When the Kehleboe cook allegedly demanded LD $4,000 to transport the suspect to South Beach Central Prison, the community had to collect small money in the denomination of Liberian 20, 50 at a time, just to keep this case alive. This is not justice. It is extortion wrapped in procedure. If a rural town was crowdfund imprisonment for a case of an accused rapist, the state has already failed. The law exists, the enforcement does not. Officials admit the fees are procedurally wrong. Promises of investigation have been made, but the problem is larger than just one case, one officer or one court. The Sexual and Gender-Based Violence Crime Unit reportedly operates on roughly $12,000 a year nationwide. This is not serious investment in justice. That is symbolic budgeting. Meanwhile, government data show rape remains the most reported form of gender-based violence in Liberia, with approximately 2,700 cases reported in 2024 alone. You got a gist. Justice in the Republic of Liberia, it is not about justice. It's about power, it's about strength, it's about who knows who, and it's about whom are you as a person offending. Now, this brings us back to Prophet Key. Notice the Supreme Court never said that they summoned him for being rude to the general public. They say he's in contempt because he wants to bring the court to disrepute. So it is not about justice for the poor. It is not about justice that Prophet Key disgraced the former First Lady of the Republic of Liberia. It is not about the cursing of the former president's dead mother. It is not about cursing the unawares of the former ambassador Andy. It is about the most powerful men and women in the Republic of Liberia on something called the Supreme Court. Now let me turn to Mr. Tong. That Tong applauds the Supreme Court. He is making a moral case. He said a society without morals is deadly for the next generations to come. The question is, Mr. Tong, are we a society that has a moral police force like Iran and other countries that go around and subjugating their folks to what they call morality? And what is morality? Let me read briefly before I go to the honorable here. It says here, Monrovia, Liberia, published February 13, 2026. Renowned educator and founder of Star University, Ambassador Latin Daton, have welcomed the Supreme Court decision to sentence controversial social media commentator Justin Opa Yenzan, publicly known as Prophet Key, to prison for contempt, describing the ruling as long overdue but decisive step toward restoring moral and ethical discipline in the Republic of Liberia. This is an educator. The Supreme Court on Friday, February 13, handed Prophet Key 6 months custodial sentence after finding him guilty of contempt of court. The ruling followed his appearance before the full bench a day earlier, during which he admitted guilt and pled with the justices to temper justice and mercy. Daton's statement, greater moral statement, he said, in a sharply worded statement titled, "A Prophet Goes to Jail, but a Greater Moral Statement is Made," posted shortly after the ruling on his official Facebook page. Ambassador Daton framed the court's decision as more than a legal judgment. It was, he said, he argued, a moral declaration. According to Daton, societies are sustained by strong moral and ethical foundations. And once those foundations begin to erode, the consequences can be generational in nature, he says. Against this backdrop, the recent decision by the Supreme Court of Liberia represents a bold and commendable step. He stated, although long overdue, the ruling set an important precedent toward re-establishing of moral and ethical order in our society. That is Mr. Daton. Now, let me go to one of our own, George Wellner. He says, I am deliberately employing my canon law training to reflect on today's decisions of the Supreme Court of Liberia, not because Liberia is governed by canon law. It is not. But because canon law has over a century wrestled seriously with the very problem now before us, how authority discipline wrongdoing without becoming unjust itself. Canon law began from a sobering premise. Protesta ordinata est absolutium non ad dominatium. Authority exists for the preservation of the community, not for domination. If disciplinary tradition insists that punishment, especially by the highest authority, must be proportionate, corrective, rather than vindictive and exercised with visible restraint. Where authority is final, the moral burden is even heavier at the highest level. It is through this lens of authority constrained by conscience that I approach today's decision and what it means for Liberia's local history and our legal history. Canon law versus constitutional law or civil law. So let me bring in Honorable Pewee. Welcome to the show. While Honorable Pewee is getting out of his car and tuning in, thank you very much for tuning in. Share the show. Today is going to be even more powerful as Liberia is at a crossroad. We have to decide if we have a monarchy or we have a constitutional order. What if the process the contempt case against Prophet Key did not originate in a magistrate court, he says. It did not pass through a civil court, he says. There was no jury trial. There were no trial judge whose reasoning could be tested. No appellate panel to correct excessive errors. The Supreme Court itself initiated a contempt proceeding, evaluated the alleged offense, determined guilt, and imposed punishment. There is no higher domestic court of appeal for Mr. Prophet Key to appeal to. At best, one may see rehearing within the same court that have adjudicated, sentenced him. Honorable Pewee, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Gayman. I think it's and I share your sentiments today on the today is a very terrible day for Liberia, and I'm saying this from a very independent perspective and not a void of effort out of politics, if you will. And some of the reason why we're saying there's a need to actually seek for massive, and beginning today, I'm going to be emboldened and encouraged to begin to network out there, particularly here in the society, to see if we can find some actions against these dangerous figure we have that are currently spearheading our country democracy and the legal realm of the country. To see a Supreme Court behave in a kind of a malicious way today, that's tantamount to a malicious act of a court. That's kangaroo justice, the run of that man today. And this is not about what people will say, oh, he did that. My issue is not about that. My issue is about justice. And I think as we move through the show today and moving forward, we encourage us to always go in and out of the country and begin to really go across the country and push for change. So some of these corrupt justices can be weed out of the Supreme Court so that we have a basis for real democracy to flourish. Because to have people like Nyamin Gbese as head of the Supreme Court, and I would use, according to him, the court is mine. It's in the ruling because someone insulted his mother. He was sent in jail for 6 months. Nyamin Gbese himself being a very rude man before. He insulted people all across the area. Had he gone to jail before for causing? Have Nyamin Gbese gone to jail for depriving other people of their land in the name of a judge? Have he gone to jail before for those things? Did Nyamin Gbese go to jail when he applied malfeasant and corrupt action to appoint his own son as a Chief Justice? Why Chief Justice appointing his son as a magistrate? You see, and I mean, we're sending people to jail from the perception that they cause or they cause Liberian women. But we're not sending people to jail that are part of the reason why a lot of Liberian women die while giving birth because of corruption. We're not doing that. We're not sending people to jail, Mr. Gayman, from the very Supreme Court, the kind of a level of malfeasance that is unfolding there. You could free a former Chief Justice for killing an innocent girl. The Supreme Court can't trust that case because she's one of them. But the Supreme Court is sending an innocent man that didn't violate no law whatsoever, that he went through a competent court I mean, it's just unfortunate. Then other people will say, lawyer. We don't need lawyers in many cases to understand some things that are unfolding. We don't need lawyers. Article 74, Mr. Gayman, you have the convention. Please read Article 74 for us.
Let me pull it up. I don't have it with me ready there, but I'll be making reference to it. I'll pull it up.
Yeah, Article 74 is talking about contempt of the Supreme Court. I don't know until you have it. I just want you to read it because Article 74 is talking about contempt of the Supreme Court and all other courts. That means all other courts of record. All other courts, they say. Article 74. I just wanted you to read about that Article 74. It's talking about what is contempt of the Supreme Court and other courts. Now, if we endeavor in the way that we're trying to see the country move on. It's just quite unfortunate to see the kind of thing we see happen. I'm very disappointed in the social justice Howard Woodacuddy. I thought she was part of the group of people that came about that wanted to bring about democracy and the democratization of the country, but to allow herself to read an opinion that is anti-justice. It is a dangerous precedent. These are the dangerous precedents that some of them try to set. It is disgraceful for some of them. I've lost respect for most of them because you don't bring us personal sentiments to bear. You got it, Mr. Gayman?
Yes.
Yeah, please go ahead.
It says Article 74 of the 1986 Constitution of the Republic of Liberia established the authority regarding contempt of court. It stipulates that in all matters of contempt of court, whether within the Supreme Court or other subordinate courts, the penalties to be imposed shall be fixed by the legislature and must be complied with the fundamental right provision laid down in the Constitution.
Thank you, Mr. Gayman. So, I mean, you and I, we're not lawyers.
No.
But the Constitution is saying who shall fix the penalty? The legislature, the Supreme Court have abrogated on themselves power that they don't have. And this is dangerous for the country moving forward. Listen, there was a time they talk him about, you see, that's the reason why sometimes, and if you don't bring those things up, you don't want to fix the past. People came because
real quick, it's a key aspect of the 1974, the Article 74. Legislative authority is the power to define the punishments for contempt rests solely with the legislature and not with the court themselves.
No. And you see, our lawmakers themselves will have to get up and put some serious thing in this place. Now, yesterday, the very Yami Blazer and the rest of the folks said Samuel Doe and the Kromah were targeting them. They were targeting them. It's part of the reason why, and you see, and that's the reason why sometimes we have to be, and we say the Nibayan are xenophobic people and other things. People can be saying this and that and other things. He's listening to Kehleboe Gongloe. Listen to the nonsense he said today about 73 of the penal code. You are a lawyer. You're supposed to be a human rights lawyer, independent human rights lawyer. Listen to the nonsense he said. That he agreed with the Supreme Court because none of them will have the nerve or the balls to disagree with the Supreme Court because they believe the Supreme Court will go and say, okay, we will disbar you or we'll punish you and say this. Wherein the court, what the lawyer said today, I took my respect for Councillor Gongloe, but it seems to be my respect is gradually evaporating for him. Now, that portion of the penal code he spoke of, I was just researching it. The man needed to go, you arraign him in court. If it is criminal, he should be arraigned in court. In a court of record, Mr. Gayman. If he's found guilty, then. But who sued him? For offensive languages. Who?
Nobody.
The court rather call him for contempt. I thought Councillor Gongloe, you see, these are the dangerous things. Thank God the people aren't taking him serious to be president of that country. Because these are people that will mess the country up. Because his fellow Nima man, he tried to support the Nima man action. I mean, this is wrong.
And here it goes further. Fundamental rights compliance. This is what compliance it says. Penalties for contempt must align with the broader constitutional rights of individuals, such as due process. The fundamental rights of a Liberian have to be followed, and the fulcrum upon that is due process. What due process follow in this case, Mr. Gongloe?
Yeah, I was very disappointed listening Councillor Gongloe today saying what he was saying today. Very disappointed. And again, it's part of the reason why we get a lot of time now to tell the Liberian people, people that are pretending to be clean, they themselves got their own political side. They will expose themselves as we move through the system of the politics. Where you afforded this man due process, you didn't arraign him in any court whatsoever. It was something they call contempt. There's nothing. The legislature, the 86th Constitution was abundantly clear that the legislature shall fix the punishment for contempt of the Supreme Court and all other courts, meaning court of records, if you will. That should be fixed by the national legislature. Now, as compared to contempt, again, for the sake of education today, Mr. Gayman, I think we'll have the time. But if you agree to that, can we also look at Article 34 of the Constitution?
Okay. While we're discussing this, we'll look at Article 34.
Because 34 is clear. The Constitution gave clear punitive action and what constitutes contempt of the legislature as to contempt of the court. So contempt of the legislature is to impede their functions while going or coming from section and all those things. But it says the punitive action cannot be beyond the statutory period of their sitting. Meaning, so they will do it within the time they are sitting. It's clear. But for the court, the reason why the Constitution was very mindful is say, hey, the legislature should have, because you are the court. We can't get you that power, so someone will have to fix it. And that's why the Constitution balances it to say the legislature shall fix the penalty thereof. But it didn't do that. And it shall be in line with fundamental rights.
Did you say 34?
34. Article 10. No, sorry. 44.
Article 44.
I'm deeply sorry. Now I'm trying to mix. Yeah, it's Article 44. Yeah, I will not study it right. Yes, it's Article 44. Sorry, it's not 34. 34 is the legislative power. What the power
That's correct.
Yes.
Article 44 of the 1986 Constitution of Liberia defines and governs contempt of the legislature. It establishes that action obstructing legislative function or impeding members, officers in their duties are punishable by respective house through reasonable sanction, provided a due process of hearing is held. These sanctions cannot extend beyond the legislative section.
Yes.
Definition, it says, contempt consists of action that obstruct, impede, or hinder the legislature or its members in their official duties.
Go back somewhere down where you talk about issue between a legislator, a member of there cannot be settled in that very chambers, but it will have to go outside the court.
The specific House, Senate, or House of Representatives has the power to impose sanction, yes. Sanction must be reasonable and imposed only after a hearing. Yeah, we went over that. Sanction cannot extend. We went over that. The scope. Dispute between legislators and non-members that are properly within the court's jurisdiction are not to be held by the legislature. This article ensures that the legislative branch can maintain order and function without undue interference, while still respecting the fundamental rights of individuals and the separation of power. So look, Honorable Pewee, we are saying this. Don't let anybody fool you that we are not lawyers, so we don't know our rights.
Oh, no.
That's not true, because those who are here, because here we are, when you're talking about bringing the court to disrepute, public disrepute, you were here when the highest court ruled against the legislative body of the Republic of Liberia, Kofa versus Cone. And the president of the Republic of Liberia, President Joseph Boakai, sidestepped, disregarded, disrespected the Supreme Court, who brought him before the Supreme Court for contempt. Who did? When George Bezey appointed, like you say, his incompetent son.
Yeah.
Who brought him, or who brought the court to public disrepute? When when Coon or another person's daughter or nephew or niece were dedicating a park in Magibi, the former Chief Justice, while the Vice President and the administration were before the court, she attended an event. Who brought this court to public disrepute? I have with me here the 2024-2023 U.S. State Department Country Report. It clearly says here that the judicial system is corrupt.
Very corrupt.
So who is bringing this court to public disrepute? I didn't see them calling the U.S. ambassador for contempt. I didn't see them calling the U.S. embassy for contempt. So let's go to your buddy here, Dopoh, the president of Star University. He is saying that the Supreme Court has a moral obligation to set this country straight, or the next generation will be damaged. My question to Dr. Dopoh is, at what cost should we trust our Constitution because we want some moral police? He's arguing on the side of morality. You and I know morality is relative, Honorable Pewee.
Mm-hmm.
What is morally right in Bassa tradition may not be 100% right in Loma or Gizi or Kru tradition. What is morally right in New York may not be morally right in Grand Bassa County. We know this. So why is Dopoh talking about the morality of this country? Are we willing to be another Iran where we're going to have moral police, morality police on every corner? If you use profanity, you'll be flogged there and then as they do in Iran. Is this where we're going? Who is now leading this country into a dangerous path for the next generation? Is it Prophet Key? Is it the Supreme Court? Or is it the morality police headed by educator Dopoh? I want your take on his take about the morality. This country needs morality, and the Supreme Court stands for morality. This is his thinking.
And first and foremost, if I were to go by his statement and the rest of that, you see, sometimes the messenger and the message is need to be trashed right away. Right? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So I don't know the context he's taking morality from all of things, but a lot of way he applied in his professional job, he didn't apply some serious ethical issues, and he should be considered this person and having activities all over the place. So what kind of morality is he talking about first and foremost? Do we have a barometer here, and I want to take into some? Listen, Mr. Gayman, I will trash this, both the messenger and the message. This total nonsense he's saying here. At what level are you trying to do some justification? We agree that we all got from background. You have to prove yourself as to the kind of a tendency you went through, what the kind of a discipline that was instilled. For me, the kind of a discipline that was instilled in me and my siblings was the kind of a family value discipline, right? To respect the elderly, to respect moral teaching about the church and the family and all those things.
But Dr. Corti here, as an educator, let me read a short passage here. It says here, renowned educator and founder of Star University, Ambassador Latem Dopoh has welcomed the Supreme Court's decision to sentence controversial social media commentator Opa, popularly known as Prophet Key, to prison for contempt, describing the ruling as long overdue but decisive step toward restoring moral and ethical discipline in Liberia. The Supreme Court on Friday, he says, handed Prophet Key 6-month custodial sentence after finding him guilty of contempt of court. The ruling followed, blah, blah, blah. But his stand, though, is that Liberia needs discipline, moral ethics. And he thinks that the Supreme Court has done this by sentencing this man to 6 months without even addressing the proportionality of the sentence. Is it proportional? I mean, is this bringing a bazooka to kill a fly?
But first and foremost, how did they come about? I don't want to go to Dayton or his name Dayton whatsoever. Look at that nonsense he's saying there. He's speaking out nonsense. And I want to see what's no Mr. Gayman, because here's this. At what basis? What's the basis of the moral issue he's talking about here that the Supreme Court is trying to do? Did he come out with this kind of a thing with the Supreme Court when the Chief Justice appointed his son? That is tantamount to malfeasant.
That's correct.
That is further exposing that body. That's a serious standard that he breached. Did Mr. Dayton or whosoever had to call him come out to state anything about that? When they see Chief Justice, the Chief Justice have been embroiled into a lot of accusation before of corruption, ceasing, allegedly taking land from other people and other things to do. If you to do Nimba, I don't know the rest of Nimba, but in the Moserado area, all those things. And that's the Chief Justice trying to. And this is the same Chief Justice. One of the lawmakers say he's somehow there drink. He's an alcoholic. Right? He's an alcoholic. So is that part of the moral issue there? A man that goes to work sometimes as a justice drunk, pissed drunk? I'm not the one saying it. One of the lawmakers said, man, is a chronic alcoholic. So we have to be very mindful here if we want to set standards. And I think it's a dangerous thing to come and want to bring these things. And if people were to sit and allow these kind of a power drunk elements to come and believe that they got power, now is our time, we got power, we'll do what we want to do with power, that how we want to go back and put people like that in the executive mansion, and certain group of people believe that we got power, will step on everybody. It doesn't matter who you're doing it to now. The issue of the intent to even do it to any Liberian citizen whatsoever, that's an abuse of power. It's a serious abuse of power. So Liberians have to be mindful as to how we begin the process of running through, moving these things out. But I'm just increasingly disappointed in the entire bench. People will say, hey, you disagree with the bench, but you should respect. I don't respect no damn jack thing the day-to-day. These are all nonsense. These are incompetent bunch of judges, justices that did things, and they're just taking the Liberian people taxpayer money with doing nothing. And we cannot continue to sit down and watch these people introduce another room there, because there's a potential crisis. I mean, there's a recipe for more chaos in the country. People will start reacting a different way. People can get angry and start reacting a different way they will react. We can get at some of them different way. The reaction can come. It can flame up to other things. So I mean, so we ought to, if we get those that got the power of the country, we have to, Mr. Gayman, we have to maintain it and respect the power and respect the rest of others. I'm not here talking about who this man was yesterday or what he's doing today. The real issue here is that, and that's part of the reason why people have not trusted most of the system. And I'm not the one saying it. And I agree with what the United States government said about the justice system is the most corrupt institution in Liberia. It's the most corrupt branch of government in Liberia. And to the fact that even judges, lawyers that should be independent so that can be afraid to hit, because they will hit you and they will do something. So everybody, lawyers that sometimes will go and say this, they say that, and say, listen, this same man here insulted the former president day to day, night to night. The former president, the two former presidents, if you will know, he did. And all of them sat there. But to say the Supreme Court man, the Chief Justice man, come on, Chief Justice have more people that even led to some people going off this ice. And then today you're trying to turn it up. The same Chief Justice came in a disgraceful manner, appointed his incompetent, untrained son. He did that. The same Chief Justice appointed his incompetent, untrained son, because he's not trained to be a lawyer that way, and he appointed him there because he had the motto as a Chief Justice This same Chief Justice is now illegally targeting judges and magistrates that he didn't like, that challenged a decision of his yesterday. He's shifting them here because he's got the power to change them and other things. This same Chief Justice, is it the Chief Justice that we should respect? That should be the Chief Justice of Liberia? We're going to start talking to folks in this place. If the U.S. government would write, if there's a plan to give dime to the judicial system, Liberia should put off to it. The U.S. taxpayer money should not go to any institution that is headed by an alleged corrupt and very disgusting person that will come and appoint his own son somewhere. This is wrong, and we ought to stop it. If we don't stop it, it's going to be a problem for the society tomorrow, and there will be a huge situation. Today, other people will cower it. They will do it to this fellow because no one is going to be there to talk for him. He doesn't have the kind of the wherewithal and the skill or the connections to push people out. No, he may not have friends, and that is where he conducts himself. But yet, when it comes to this, if they violate his rights, some of us will attempt to now come to talk on his behalf, and will write institutions in this country to see some reason to stop support for the judiciary, because the judiciary itself is very corrupt, as the U.S. government mentioned and other things, and the Chief Justice proved to us that indeed he's a corrupt person by appointing his son and other things moving forward. There are a lot of things we're going to try to uncover.
And we will.
A lot of things we'll try to uncover
and we will.
And get to some of knuckleheads, a bunch of knuckleheads that are sitting there calling themselves justices or Chief Justice. There's shame on all of them.
You know, I've been hearing in Liberia, if President Waika has done nothing, he has put our image on the international level. He has given us respect. Are you reading what the international people are saying? Do you expect legal luminaries to respect this government no matter what they say you do? Is this what you're talking about, putting us on? This is going to be in the State Department's report 2026-2027. This is unusual for the Supreme Court to go and fetch to itself a case where it has become the complainant, the juror, the judge, and the executioner. This is what Mr. Warner says. He said, today it is the controversial prophet Key, whose language many find crude and indefensible. Tomorrow it could be a journalist sharply criticizing the judgment, a lawyer questioning judicial reasoning, or a scholar interpreting constitutional interpretation. Once the highest court treat public ridicule of itself as punishable contempt, without the discipline of a lower court and the adjudication or the safeguard of an external appellate review, the president will now remain confined to today's speaker, not only him. This is how slippery slope forms. And he went on to the Latin words, step by step, not all at once, little by little. This is how dictatorship begins. What happens? What deepens the gravity of this movement is the reaction it has provoked. There are women celebrating the decision, seeing it a long overdue rebuke of abusive language and a restoration of respect for them. Their feelings are legitimate. Liberia has endured too much normalized verbal violence, especially against women, for the demands of dignity and to be dismissed. There are also voices invoking traditional values, arguing that firm punishment is necessary to restore order, discipline, and morality in a society weary of disorder. That argument resonates. But history, legal and moral teaches a hard lesson. Vox populi, not lex constitutionis. Popular approval does not sanctify the exercise of unchecked power. Not because everybody says you should do it means that it is legally permissible. Liberia had lived through moments when extraordinary authority was applauded because it appeared to serve the moral or corrective end. Charles Taylor's rebel incursion was once celebrated by many as a liberation. History judged that movement harshly, not because the grievances were unreal, but because unchecked power, one normalized, rarely confined itself to its original justification. The lesson is structural, not personal. Celebration is often the most dangerous stage of erosion. Liberia's own legal history reinforces this warning. For decades, women were denied fundamental rights under the authority of law. The exclusion from property ownership, inheritance, political participation, and bodily autonomy was justified, defended, and enforced in the name of order, tradition, and legality. Courts upheld it. Statutes normalized it. Society affirmed it. Those injustices were not lawless. They were lawful, according to him, because we said our tradition calls it. Women were told to endure indignity for the sake of harmony and respect. Process came not because law silenced speech, but because constitutional principle expanded the authority to restrain. This is why history matters now. Beyond the custodial sentence, reports indicate that the court conditioned Prophet Key's release on the execution of a bond of good behavior, requiring him to undertake never again to use invectives or vulgar language against any Liberian. If accurately reflected in the court's order, this condition raises a further constitutional concern. A behavior bond governing future expression unauthored to a specific victim, preceding or judicial function, moves from punishment to past conduct into prior, restrains something both unconstitutional law and canon law treat with extreme suspicion. In canon law, though, penalties imposed by the highest authority are legitimate only when they are mercenary, nor not expensive, aim at correction, not vindictive. This is what we are talking about. This ruling, it is not in logic. It is not in the spirit of the law. It is meant to punish this man, to say, you cost my mind, and this is the power I have, and I'm going to make sure that you suffer, you get the wrath of the law. Not only that, but this I have never heard of behavioral bond. Guarantee that from now on you will never curse again.
But that's nonsense.
Who does that?
That's nonsense.
How do you say, like people are saying, we want to regulate good behavior, but you cannot legislate this. This is illegal. You cannot tell Dr. Peabody, you got to promise me that from now on, you will never. What? And you say on the international stage, can you imagine Liberia will now become a case study in law around the country? That
who want case study for that blatant disobedience of the law? Who want a case study?
Let me work on Dr. Peabody.
Listen, honestly, it didn't hurt me to the extent that if I had means, I would look at that knucklehead and butt the hell of it. Listen, that stupidity regarding all of them are damn stupid people.
Dr. Peabody, watch your mouth. You gotta promise me from now until you die, you will never curse me. You gotta
I will never curse. I don't curse. I read letter to all the women there around town.
I never heard behavior. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I've never heard in Liberia where somebody passed a behavior bond.
When you go to Nima Kande sister proof sister proof King Jew and can't sit down and do nonsense, raise incompetent son. Then you taking someone to send them to jail because you want to prove, you want to say that you keep the. You think they're appointing you to be chief justice? It's not low. So, oh yeah, what time to use power?
I'll be
You study bro, sick out of people to be afraid. People are already afraid of people like you people. Then you won't prove this? You think it will go well with the electors?
Dr. Peabody.
You didn't want to go, we'll have elections tomorrow. There's study people kind of power there. It bring power back to the country. You've got to be mindful of some of you watching you.
Mr. Gayman, look, that's why I was so hesitant to come on today, because I don't want costs before they hold me in contempt, a criminal.
Let them hold us in contempt. So
I didn't want to cost. But what we saw today was a blatant violation of the rights of Prophet Key, a rare blatant violation, and BS, complete BS from that unqualified Chief Justice of the Republic of Liberia. I knew from day one that man was totally unqualified. He was not unqualified to even be the head of the highest court of the land in that country. And he just proved how corrupt and unreliable that Supreme Court is. They are controlled by emotions. They are not controlled by the law. They don't follow the law. They only follow the emotion and render decision. And what we saw today was a disgrace. What country in the world will want to use that abuse and violation of his free speech, Prophet free speech, to say they want to use it as a case study for Liberia? That's the most disgraceful part. But Liberia have it. We have a Supreme Court who's rendering decision based on personal emotions and stuff like that. They're not rendering a decision based on the law. And Liberians, I see some Liberians, nobody support Prophet Key, use of vulgarity and all of that. We don't support it. But what we're saying, let the law be the law. Let the law be the law. Follow the law. Why will you waste your very important bench? That bench is very important. Why will you waste time and carry that man, say you're sending him to jail for 6 months because he used profanity and stuff like that, or even accuse you? I mean, I have the right to say this man is not qualified. It doesn't mean that it's a criminal offense for me. And I think what we saw today is a disgrace to the country. We just not prove. That's why we never pass the rule of law when it comes to the Millennium Challenge Fund. We just prove how inconsistent, unreliable, and corrupt the Chief Justice is. Totally disgrace. I can't even believe it. But I don't blame him. I blame people who put him there, who appointed him. Know that this guy have taken bribe from a lot of people in the past, and you taking and making Chief Justice of the Republic of Liberia. It was a disgrace, and he will continue to disgrace our country. Watch.
Let me read what our CEO said here. Honorable Tomalin George says, guys on TCA, be careful what you are saying about the Supreme Court. Oh, someone just tagged the clerk of the Supreme Court on our show. Guys, this is what.
Too many people, always let the guy man. He's a scared cow.
But this is what.
Oh, a cow get always any right. You see me? Don't be running all that, man.
But Tomalin George, let me read this to you again.
So if the clerk of the Supreme Court is doing anything wrong outside the law, to hell with the clerk of the Supreme Court.
Honorable Peabody, this is what Werner is writing here. He said, today, this controversial Prophet Key, whose language many find crude and indefensible, we all agree. Tomorrow, it could be a journalist. This is where we are now. It's not even tomorrow yet, and Tomalin George is afraid.
But no matter too many George, so.
But this is what we are talking about.
But you couldn't be running all that clerk listening to hell with clerk.
This was meant to put fear in the Irish person, in the law-abiding citizens of the country. And it is having an immediate effect for an educated, well-sounded man, the people's person, Tomalin George, to be generous at this point, to say we should watch our steps. Before the Supreme Court called Jerome Gayman and Dr. Peabody and Pewee to set, adequate behavior bond that you will never criticize the Supreme Court anymore. Well, for me, it would be a very small price to pay if I go to jail, but exposes the evil of the Supreme Court. Like this day, I say we live in infamy. And that word I borrowed from the former president of the United States, Franklin D. Roosevelt, when Japan attacked the United States. He said, this day we live in infamy. Go ahead, Chief.
Yeah, the thing I even adding insult to injury here, we're not paying attention to the gentleman. So they're saying the man is going to spend 6 months in jail.
Mm-hmm.
But to guarantee his release, right? You have to sign that bond. Are we be able to guarantee? So after the 6 months, I agree that he said he's not signing this.
Mm-hmm.
He should languish behind by the petrol.
That's correct.
That's it, right? So I mean,
I can't believe this thing.
Are these people waiting for problem to come back in our country? Because the reason why bulk of the folks from Nimba County joined Chancellor to bring war in the bureau because they felt they were marginalized.
Yeah.
And listen, we'll remind people in this place of those things. The reason why 95% of the folks from Nimba, when they joined to be commandos, they behead our people, kill innocent people. Part of the reason was they felt marginalized. You have a Nimba Chief Justice today trying to remind us that they can do more than that. Again, you have a Nimba Chief Justice play on the rest of his colleagues that are dumps it there and don't allow the reasonable thing to come up their head to know that they are here to protect the sanity of the Constitution of our country. Then they're doing this today. The reason why the civil crisis came to the country, that we were told that they were marginalized by Samuel Doe and the Crown people. But we get a different side of it eventually. When that happened, when Taylor came of the war, they started beheading people all over the place in the need of coming to target. They didn't target. It was not the Crown people that were targeting. So to change this thing, we came back to say we endorse democracy. And then you are bringing people to remind us. You're saying someone will be in jail until they sign behavior bond. Who are you, by the way, to say that? Is it a law? What portion of the law he's violated? Was he arraigned in court? Was he arraigned in court? Represented by a competent counsel? If that is not the case, and Article 74 is clear here, telling us the legislature shall fix the penalty for contempt of the court and the Supreme Court. That has not happened since the 1986 Constitution came into full swing. It has not happened. And then today you using power that is not given to you, and you violating the Constitution. Article 2 of the Constitution is something that is also saying an attempt to undermine this Constitution. So where are we headed? You have to remind these people that these things need to stop. We're not saying it aloud. Listen, problem can come from different way. People that were there. You got to be mindful.
Yeah.
Nigerians are tired. Nobody's going to go to war. Nobody's going to allow anyone to bring confusion in our country. If we will take the people to find means to take care of you, we'll find means to take care of you. They're not allowed that sort of thing to happen. It's wrong. Why you keep the man in jail? Say you got to force him to find behavior bond that he will never cause again. You that over there every day, sometimes you live in the hall, you're not your security for your job, you can't cause them to work. Your security your drivers and other people. Yeah? But
some of the thing that happened right in Liberia. Only Liberia, this kind of nonsense can happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you had somebody who really was a scholar of the law, they will not be saying this BS and trying to punish somebody for that. Nobody's saying what Prophet Keith did was right by cussing people, but is that a criminal offense? Does that work? This man going to jail for 6 months? You're abusing his right. That is wrong.
But Honorable Peabody, Dr. Peabody, the mere fact that the Supreme Court basically went to this man's house.
Yeah.
This man was not even given a chance.
Yeah.
He didn't go before a jury to say you are guilty, for him to appeal to the Supreme Court. No, the Supreme Court became the justice of the peace.
Mm-hmm.
They became the bailiff, the sheriff.
Yeah.
Arrested this man, brought him in. Not only are they sending him to jail, but the length of time they are sending him to jail. And then the editorial here from Front Page Africa said, a 57-year-old woman was raped in broad daylight. The community arrested the perpetrator. And the judicial system that Nagbe represents charged the woman to arrest the perpetrator. They charge her to pay the criminal's way to go to jail. And they charge her for the bed the man was sleeping on in the jail. Where does this thing happen? In which country?
Yep. Where does that happen? Only in Liberia. That's why we never passed that's why we have not passed the rule of law. Most people view Liberian law as very the legal system in Liberia as compromised, very corrupt to the core, and nobody really respects the rule of law. That's why you can't find any real investor coming into that country, because they know. We saw the managing director of National Port Authority dupe a Chinese man. What became of that case? Death. Like somebody said the other day, Councilor Freeman said here on our show, mostly in President Liberia, the decision from Supreme Court decision is really made by, the executive have a major impact when it comes to Supreme Court decision. They make that decision based on what the executive think or what the executive want. This ruling today, you should have had people, you should have had even a human rights group condemning this, cussing something. All of that should condemn it. Also, this human rights stuff. Because what happened today was a complete infringement and on perfect key of free speech. It was complete infringement. You would jail somebody. You didn't even have a real trial. You bring this man to your courthouse, and the next thing you do, and you hearing case, and next thing you do, he's found guilty. He's sent to jail for you indict me on a case. You even give me a chance to go back and find my lawyer so we can come and decide the case. You indict the very day you indict me, and the same day you form a verdict on me, and they've been put me in jail. I'm a right behavior. I apologize to all women in Liberia and all kind of things. Stupid, dumb attitude. That's what they did there. They did. Stupid people, educated people acting so stupid because they're using their emotion and things like that for the law. It's not the law. The law is the law. You must go by what it is in the book. You must exhibit. You must be morally and ethically correct. And we didn't see that happen today. All we saw today were people who had emotion, who couldn't stand perfectly when he cussed, and they sent him to jail for 6 months to prove a point. That's a BS point. So I will your boss went and duped that Chinese man. And what happened? The corrupt put again, gave him a leeway to leave. I'm not upset with your boss. I don't even know him from nowhere. Please.
That's correct. Dr. Peabody, this article from this editorial says, when the Kehleboe court allegedly demanded LD $4,000 to transport the suspect to South Beach Central Prison, the community had to collect small money to send the suspect. This is not justice. It is extortion wrapped in procedure. If a rural town was crowdfunded, the imprisonment for an accused rapist, the state has failed. The enforcement does not. Officials admit the fees are procedurally wrong. But you say it's wrong, but you're doing it. The Sexual and Gender-Based Violence Crime Unit reportedly operates on roughly 12,000. We don't care how much their budget is. You should not tell a woman that was raped to pay for the rapist to go to court. No. To pay for the rapist to be transported, to pay for the rapist to sleep in jail. What kind of society is this?
Very sick.
And you sit there and say, we are now on the international stage. We are looking good. Our image, you do not have an image on the international.
You can't even pass simple legal tests around the world. They say every year Liberia failed the rule of law. They say you're looking good on international stage. What stage? on Liberia stage. They're not international stage. Also,
we just said this the last time, ladies and gentlemen. Let us. This is something that we all have to collectively look. Somebody warn us. See, these country people, we the country people. There's something intrinsically wrong with us country people. Instead of us coming into this civilized world and being civilized, we want to bring our culture, our tradition, our tribal ethics into something that has absolutely nothing to do with law.
Yeah, yeah.
Why are you saying our tradition? What tradition? Which tradition?
Yeah.
We got, last time I checked, we got 17 different tribes and different traditions in the country. Yep. Which one will you supersede?
It's very sad.
That's why the United States government, that's why the great people of the United States said, we are going to have separation of church and state.
Yep. Yep.
We do not want your Muslims over here. We don't want your Christians over here. We don't want your Bible, because all of you serve a God.
Yep. Yep.
We have no barometer to measure which God is greater than whom.
Yep. Yep.
So to do the best we can, just leave your God out there. Don't bring it here.
Exactly.
And in Liberia, it worked for a while. Now we had a bunch of people bringing their culture and their society thing, their devil thing there. The Mandingo people bringing their society thing. The Loma people bringing their stuff. So now we're going to be a conflict country. Basic is now bringing his guilt devil into our Supreme Court.
Call it a zoo. I mean, the zoo or whatever. I mean, I respect them, but they need to respect themselves. This
of course.
They need to really
you cannot bring your culture, your tradition, your custom, and impose on everybody else. This is why we are saying separation of church and state. This is why we are saying leave your bastardness in bastard, leave your guiltness in guilt country. When you come to Monrovia, to our Supreme Court, go by the law. And for those of you who are out here fictitiously saying it is our culture, what culture? Some of you men in your religion, in your tribe, in your custom, beating women is legal. You do that because it's customary where you come from. In civilized society, we say we don't do that anymore. In some culture, they don't send women to school. We have determined that a society that educates all of its people is an advanced and strong society. So we abolish those things. So why are you bringing your culture into everything we do, especially the law? How will you tell a Liberian citizen to acquire a behavior bond that he will never curse for the rest of his life? Who does that? Is that reasonable? For those of you who are legal luminaries, you got to come here and quote a law, whether it is common law or British law or American law, whatever, where we have had a bond for behavior bond that you will never do this again. So if Prophet Key have not cursed the Supreme Court justice,
they will never come up behavior bond.
Listen, too many were just saying something about who's the clerk of the Supreme Court. God, we need a name. God, we need to start writing communication around naming folks that are involved into kangaroo justice.
We got to shame them.
If we don't take the lead here, and at least somehow got the leverage now, we got some level to advocate for the rest of our countrymen. We can do that. And we can move to some of our lawmakers in this place, in this era. We talk to them, they're going to listen to us.
Of course.
So we need the name of the clerk of the Supreme Court also.
Celestine Tappet. What makes them stupid?
We need a name to money. If you can help us, that we appreciate it.
We're fine. Celestine Tape, what makes that stupid? It is stupid because it makes no sense. The law, there's a reason when you go to the Supreme Court or you go to the Ministry of Justice, Little Liberty has her face covered. And she has the skill in her hand. That means the justice system is going to be blind and it's going to apply to everybody.
Yeah.
So today is Prophet Key. Tomorrow, we are talking about history. When I hear the name Tape, it sounds like you're from the Southeast. When history was defending the 78 crowd chiefs that were murdered because they stood up for the right and made demands. The country decided to cover it up, but history said no. So for one Chief Justice, one man, to initiate the process of law, for him also to adjudicate the case and sentence the case, what choice that Prophet Key has? What other remedy, what other choice does Prophet Key have? If this thing had gone through the proper channel, he would have gone to the local court, he would plead his case. If he's found guilty, he can appeal. But instead, the court decided
sent him to jail with no opportunity of appealing that decision.
I don't know why you see, this is why when we say it's stupid, Ms. Tappet, why give him a lawyer, public defender when you know already what you were going to do?
Mm-hmm.
This is what they call kangaroo. This is what we call a mirage. When you are driving on the quota, when the sun is hot, sometimes you look ahead of you, the water on the water or the quota is wet. And sometimes when you come out, you check your brain, when you go find out there's no water there. That's what they call mirage. What we have in Liberia is not a constitutional democracy. Like this young man said, it's only on paper. It is not in application. It is selective. This is a woman that was raped, broad daylight. A woman raped. The judicial system that's supposed to protect her let her down.
And Mr. Gayman, sorry here. Part of the major role of the Chief Justice is to ensure that the judicial system is providing justice for the poor people, for the mass base of our people, and everybody in the world. But he's not bothered about that. He's not bothered about that. What he's bothered about is to bring his incompetent son and appoint his son. That doesn't concern him. And then send someone to jail that personally calls his man. Yeah, that's the issue. You know, this is not about, we know the society we find ourselves. And those folks today, and yesterday I was asking us if what the meaning of this that we're saying here, listen, it's just, I hope you understand where we sit from our position, if you will. We have a lot of women in Liberia that would die last year, even since this year started. A lot of women are dying in childbirth. That is happening to a lot of women, my dear sister, because of corruption, massive corruption in the system. The very judiciary there, more money going to them. They pillage no resources, not putting the money, because if the woman is not getting justice, she was raped, she's not getting justice, something will happen. Most often they give money to build courts and other things. They don't do it. They corrupt. All of this money run through the pipe of corruption. They don't punish none of those people. None of them go to jail. Some of them required to be in jail for 10, 20 years. They don't spend seconds in jail. You are sending this man to jail because you believe that he insulted your mother. That is unacceptable. That is miscarriage of justice. That's why we're saying they are stupid to even come to the realization or conclusion that you will send someone to jail because the person personally insulted your mother. That's a cheap justice. Do you know the bar? What the bar is from the business of being a public service? If you are a public service officer, do you know what the bar is? No one is here to justify anything about someone on a rooted character. No one is here to justify that. It's not my concern. My concern is the basic rule of law. And that's one of the reasons why we've seen in this country year on year on year on. The report coming from here is that our justice system is terrible. And that have far been justified and given more credence today by the incompetence branch we have in the country. There you go. There you go.
This is one of your circuit courts in Liberia.
Yeah.
This is one of your courts.
The other person talking about the clerk of court. The clerk of court is very corrupt.
Let me work. Larry Kennedy. Larry, when I take you to court, this is the courthouse you're going to. That's your hometown court. This is the millions of dollars the judicial system getting in Liberia. This is a courthouse, and they proudly fly the Liberian flag. This is the courthouse. So here we are, Larry Kennedy, Professor Larry Kennedy. Welcome to the show. You are muted. You are still muted. Yeah, the government in Liberia want to make sure you don't talk. but Dr. Peabody, this is the problem that we have. Can you hear us now? Oh, yeah,
when I hear you, Professor, I put your volume up.
Yeah, but Dr. Peabody, I'm looking at this more. I'm looking beyond the proceeding. I'm looking beyond what's happening here. I'm looking at the trend that we are taking. It looks like our emotions, because women are on the Supreme Court. And women, our grandmother was raped in broad daylight. And there are mothers and women, grandmothers on our Supreme Court. Nobody says anything. They are more concerned about protecting. So it tells me that there's something they are afraid of.
Yep.
Something they are afraid of. We've been cursing the Supreme Court Chief Justice here with the Democrat. They curse them. In fact, President Trump, they make a caricature of him like a dummy. They ride him in the street, kicking his butt and doing all kinds of stuff. This Chief Justice, everybody, they don't care. Yep. When the Supreme Court of the United States overturned Roe versus Wade, you saw what happened in this country.
Yep.
Boniface Satu said, ethical responsibility of citizens in democracy is not only about rights, it is also about duties. Article 15 does not only protect speech, it regulates behavior or the abuse. This places a moral responsibility on every citizen. Responsible citizens should criticize policy, not personalities, demand evidence before delivering accusation, reject propaganda and misinformation, speak with truth and respect, protect institutions while holding leaders accountable. Freedom of speech should be blah, blah, blah. Maybe he needs to come on here because I have no clue what he's talking about here.
Yeah, Master, I think I was there about to say, nobody ever disagree with something. You see, I don't know. We're not saying, I don't know. We say freedom of speech, Article 15, Mr. Satu, is the bottom declared that it comes with responsibility. But what we're saying here, the due process of law was never applied to this situation. To just take someone and send them to jail. So we need more. I think.
Well, that's why.
We need more explanation here.
That's what Mr. Dixon said. How can the Supreme Court be the judge and the jury?
and the executioner? They sentence you to death, then they put a rope around your neck and they pour.
And that's why Article 74 is saying the legislature will set the penalty, will fix it for you. They'll tell you if someone is contended will defy it, if someone is held in contempt of the court, this is how you go about it. There are mechanisms that will be deployed by the legislature, not yourself. You cannot do it yourself. But what it did, they try to push to us and fix their own contempt of court and punishment, and see the kind of nonsensical thing that stupid of a clerk was trying to read today. And to further justify your release, you have to come and file behavior born with the clerk of the Supreme Court. Is that not nonsensical and unacceptable? You're inviting. That's recipe for more problem. You guys got to stop it. It may not be the way you're thinking it would be, but there are other problems that can come out.
Dr. Peabody, the law, and Mr. Warner said it here. He says law, especially canon law that has, because all laws derive their history from canon law, which is basically moral through the church. It says no matter how grievous the crime is, the resolution thereof cannot be based being vindictive. You cannot be so hurt that you want to kill the person instead of the person that's supposed to spend 2 days in jail. It says 6 months. Not only that, but you will not get out of jail until you file a bond. Not just make a claim or promise, but you got to have a bond. And who knows what agency in Liberia that gives not surety bond, but this one behavioral bond? Who does that? What bank, what institution gave behavioral bond that say we guarantee you will not cuss anymore? Where this is indirectly saying to the private, you are going to die in jail. This is a perpetual punishment that is based in vindictiveness, emotion. You come from your guild tribe, and in your tradition, you can't curse woman. That is a no-no. So when someone does it, if Prophet Key were in a guild bush, who knows what they would have done to him? But that is not what you do in civilized country like Liberia, where we have constitutional law and they spell out the processes. He has to be accused. He has to be tried before a competent a court of jurisdiction. If he found guilty, he should be given the opportunity to appeal all the way up to the Supreme Court. But you took away all of the processes leading to this, and you took on the exclusive power because you have the word supreme added to your name, so nothing else counts.
The incompetency we're talking about. I knew from day one the man was very incompetent. I knew from day one. You see, this man had not written any real professional legal journal before. Nothing. You see, and that's why they're misinterpreting the Constitution. You're not interpreting it, the law, but you're misinterpreting the law. And that's what we saw here today. Misinterpret the law. From day one, this Yamin Wizard man have been involved into a lot of bribery scandal in Liberia. And they appointed him and made him Chief Justice. And people did not even hold him accountable for some of his behavior in the past. And what did he do the first time he took over? Was to bring his incompetent son to lead. You see?
The representative from that said the man's an alcoholic. He's a chronic alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so what you expect from a chronic alcoholic?
This is something that will haunt this country. And for those of you who are stressing, it is our culture. Today, I want to remind you what Dopoh, the former President Dopoh, said. This is not just about me. He says, I want you to see beyond Dopoh. This is bigger than Dopoh. He said, I may be out of the way. And Charles Taylor said the same thing. He says, it is not about me. He said, if it's about Taylor, I would be out of here in the twinkle of an eye. Today, this is what we got. And this brings our entire society under scrutiny. The Arthur Grand School of Law. Oh, may his soul rest in peace. Charles Walker Bronsky, wherever you are. You may have been the last of that generation who have allowed the business of the world to be in the Arthur Grand laws. Where in the world will the business of the world be allowed without logic?
Yeah.
To interpret the Constitution. Not only that he failed to interpret the Constitution, but what did he do? Since he couldn't interpret the Constitution, he just dashed it away, just threw it away and began to run the Constitution by fiat.
Yep.
If you don't want to abide by the law, don't go by the law.
Yep.
Just drop the book and run it by fiat, by saying in our guilt culture, if you cross my mind, we're supposed to kill you.
Yep.
So Prophet Key, basically, he's a dead man because according to Bese, he will be in jail for the rest of his life until he found something called behavior bond. And if no institution gives behavior bonds in Liberia, he will rot in jail. This is the interpretation of this incompetent, immoral justice.
Exactly.
And when I get to Liberia, Chief Justice Bese, you can pick me up from the airport. I will tell you where I'm residing. Don't come at night. Like the AP reporter we had on here, he said while they were doing the report in Liberia on the gold mine and the exploitations of the people, there were dark cars traveling behind them, following them everywhere they go, intimidating them, putting fear in them. When I get to the airport, I will tell you where I live, when I'm coming. So you do not harm anybody else. Just pick me up. Don't touch my relative. Don't touch my children. Don't touch anybody. Just pick me up because I have harmed you according to you. This country called Liberia, we will not allow this country to go backward. We have brought these country boys from the hamlets of Liberia, understand nothing. They are uncivilized. They are not cultured. They come into Monrovia and they are running wild. Our Constitution has been trampled upon. Citizens being abused. Because one man has an ego. In the meantime, a woman, a 40, 57-year-old grandmother was raped in broad daylight in Kehleboe. She had the courage to come out and report herself to the police and say, I was raped. And the judicial system told her that she needed $4,000 to arrest the perpetrator, the rapist, and another $4,000 to transport him. and another 5,000 Liberians that will keep him in jail. This is the judicial system that Bese is defending. In which civilized society that a woman is raped and she has to pay the transportation of her rapist. Societal decadence. When you go get married, when you get to the altar, they say, who gave it this woman? You put your hand up and say, anybody have any objection? What they said, Honorable Doctor, you are the man, you always say, it says, speak now or forever hold your peace. I think
yes,
that's what it said.
yes, forever hold your peace.
If you are a Liberian with conscience,
Yep.
with a modicum of morality of what is right or wrong, not what your tribal people say, but what the Constitution says.
Yep.
You have to speak up. God knows I was defending President Weah, and this man was cursing President Weah, and I said, please respect, if you don't respect President Weah, respect the office he represents.
Yep.
And people right on here said they were urging him on, cheering him on. He was cursing the underclothes of the former First Lady, and you were cheering him on. Then he went to the dead mother of the president, the former president, and you were cheering him on. You say it was free speech? I want to believe that George Bese, at the time he was Associate Justice, he was supporting President Boykai. President Boykai won and paid him by making him Chief Justice above everybody else, knowing that he is the least competent of that bunch.
Yeah, and it's President Weah that brought him on the bench.
That's correct.
That's what I was like. Be mindful was those under other kind of wolf. How do you call it?
Yeah.
Wolf in sheep clothing.
Yeah, wolf in sheep clothing.
So here we are. He is now telling us that he sees the Liberian Constitution through his own lenses.
Yeah.
Charles Walker Bronsky might be turning in his grave.
You don't trust those people. I'm telling you.
Johnny Lewis might be turning in his grave.
So today is the 13th, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th.
So
It's a dangerous day.
Prophet Key, if he will have to sound the bomb and do the announcement, he should be out by the 13th or the 14th of August.
Okay.
A Liberian citizen is being sentenced for cursing.
I can assure you there will be a consequence for that action. It's not about the make Prophet Key, but it's about the miscarriage of justice that applied today.
This is what we are talking about.
Serious.
Anybody who wants to make this thing about Prophet Key is wrong. You are dead wrong. This is not about Prophet. This is about you.
There'll be consequence. Those guys, they'll probably be made to pay for it.
This is not
the international
Prophet
partner
Key.
will push for nothing against some of that. I know the government won't do nothing. Or the government, but probably the United Party people push the court to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They control the Supreme Court.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. The push say that man been doing this. I think they're supposed silencing. They intend to silence him perpetually.
Mm-hmm.
It would not work.
And then what they may want to do eventually, and that will be already, and this is what they want to do. The pressure will come to bear. They will call this stupid Supreme Court that we have currently. Very stupid bunch of justices we have. They will eventually call them to reconsider their decision.
Mm-hmm.
And probably they will say, okay, he spent 2, 3 weeks or 1 month or 2 months in jail. Then they will get him to say, okay, he did it, he did apology, and then they will do something, and then they will get him out.
Yeah, they just play with the law. Those people are very upset.
That's what eventually they're going to do. He's not going to spend the 6 months in jail.
Well,
I will say on the record here.
President Joseph Boykai.
The pressure will start going to bear on the government, and the government will want to push them.
Of course.
And the government will start pushing them, and there will be some compromise among themselves.
That's possible, but the Constitution is the organic law of the land. Should never be compromised. Should never be compromised.
Absolutely.
They should never
compromise.
But where was Supreme Court come out and say somebody going to jail because they caused pop somebody on the bench? Do you know the way they attack members of Supreme Court in other countries, and the only thing don't attack the person, but in terms of insult, you know how many insult that they gave on these people, public officials in this country? The only thing, don't insult them, don't threaten their life, don't go after them. But if you feel anything personal, go to court. And yet the court found Prophet Kill or whosoever or Pewee guilty, and then there will be actions taken. I mean, it's just appalling. I mean, you don't do this, and that's what people say they can't come live in the country because they don't have a bunch of incompetent knuckleheads sitting somewhere and then use power anyhow. I mean,
it's so weak and low in the way they use their power.
George Mason, if you are listening, if you are watching, please go spend some money on this court here. And George Mason, they should impeach you for having the audacity to hold court in this thing. And you are not concerned. You are not concerned about this courthouse here. Or you are concerned about Prophet Key.
The Senate should impeach him. That's what the Senate should do.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I think you should start calling your representatives, your senators, and let us begin to put pressure on our leaders in Liberia. This is injustice. I think it was Martin Luther King. Hopefully, I'm quoting him well when he said, "Injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere."
Yeah.
Today, like Mr. Werner is saying, it may be Prophet Key. And I'm going to read it again. This is from George Werner. He says, "Today it is a controversial Prophet Key whose language many find crude and indefensible, and we all agree. But tomorrow it could be a journalist sharply criticizing a judgment, or a lawyer questioning the judicial reasoning for a decision made, or a scholar interrogating constitutional interpretation. Once the highest court treats public ridicule of itself as punishable contempt without the discipline of the lower court jurisdiction or the safeguard of external appellate review system, the president will not remain confined to today's speaker. It will not be confined to only Prophet Key. This is what we call in the West slippery slope. Step by step, small, drop by drop, drip by drip. This is how, when we begin to tell folks to have behavior bond, where in the world people tell you to have behavior bond? If this is acceptable, we might as well have religious bond. If you're going to be walking around as a Methodist, you better have your bond. If you're going to be working around as a Baptist to interpret the Bible, you better have a Bible bond. This is the slippery slope this young man is talking about. Let me welcome Professor Kennedy. Welcome, Chief.
Yes, sir. I think you can hear me now.
Yes.
Yeah, I had to switch to mic.
Clear.
Yeah, I think what was happening because we're all laughing at Chief Tomalin on Tuesday, so some of our listeners stopped working. That's a punishment. But I joined because I wanted to just point something out, right? Let me just point something out that hopefully will help educate people. Now, we know Liberia is a sovereign country, but let me point a few things out real quick. So over here at one time, and we know I've seen instances maybe a few years ago where the Liberia Supreme Court ran into an issue and they couldn't figure out how to decide, and they leaned on the U.S. Supreme Court for some sort of a guidance in terms of how to approach this. So here's why I say this. There was a landmark case in the U.S. It was Bridges versus California. So the newspaper was constantly attacking judges. The newspaper sharply criticized judges, accused them of bias, accused them of corruption, called them all sorts of names. Well, eventually, the Supreme Court hit the newspaper with contempt charges, but they had to overturn the contempt charges because why? They stated, the U.S. Supreme Court stated, they said that criticizing judges is protected under the First Amendment. This is what the U.S. Supreme Court said. Now, I know some of you guys, huh? Oh, I'm sorry, Doc.
No, go ahead, Professor. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this was a landmark case. It took, and if anyone from the Liberia Supreme Court watching, they can go and look it up because this is what they do, right? This is not my area, but I just like to read. This was a landmark case that took place in the U.S. back in 1941 at the United States Supreme Court. That ruling that saying it was okay to sharply criticize judges, accuse them of bias, and accuse them of corruption is strengthening the First Amendment right here in the U.S. And that was in 1941. Let's fast forward a little bit, and I think some of you guys may have heard this guy name. There was a group called the Chicago Seven. The Chicago Seven was led by a guy named Abbie Hoffman. He used to run a whole lot of shenanigans in the 70s in the U.S. He used to mock judges. He used to criticize the judicial system, call them corrupt, including federal judges. He called them illegitimate. He said he would not listen to anything they say. They hit him with contempt charges. So now I wanted to make this distinction, right? Because in the other case, what was said was protected by First Amendment right. Now, when Abbie Hoffman was in court and he disrupted the proceedings in court, then you can charge him.
That's correct.
But whatever he said, his speech was never charged for his speech because he said all of that thing outside of the court. So I know I've seen situations where the Liberia Supreme Court has looked to the U.S. for sort of a leadership when it comes to certain things. Now, let me give you one more. And I remember this one because, and Jerome, you probably remember it too. There was a guy named General Westmoreland. Yeah, he sued, I think it was Mike Wallace, who was doing 60 Minutes way back in the day, back in the 80s, right? Yeah. But so General Westmoreland did not win that case against Mike Wallace and CBS because what CBS did was protected under free speech. I give you guys another one. In 1964, there was the case of the New York Times versus Sullivan. So Sullivan, there was this whole thing that was criticism of public officials. The court ruled, and this is where the Liberia Supreme Court need to listen to. The court ruled that public officials must tolerate harsh and even inaccurate criticisms.
Of course.
Unless it is actually made in some sort of an actual malice. But how would you prove malice? I think there's even a movie called Absence of Malice. But how do you actually prove malice? It's kind of tricky. But the same public officials must have a higher standard when it comes to criticism. And it says Supreme Court justices are among the highest public officials in the country. So the legal bar to punish anyone must be even extremely high. So you cannot be the Supreme Court justice, and just because, I don't care, you can turn off profit. Look, I understand why he was doing, what the Supreme Court is doing, what they're doing, but they can't just be reactive. You can't be reactive because of the Supreme Court, because whatever you do, you set precedents for others to now follow. So you can't be reactive. There were others, President Myean, he got severely criticized, insulted as a public official by PK. He didn't take any malicious actions. He being the president, he couldn't take any malicious actions. but he kept his cool. We know President Weah has taken some of the harshest criticism of social media, but he kept his cool. So this whole business, I understand what the justice was trying to do. He's trying to send some signal. And in private, I may say, hey, you know something, I understand but legally, he really cannot do that because it is actually something that PK said outside of court, and it was actually protected by First Amendment. So now, if the highest court in Liberia is setting precedents that says one cannot criticize or public officials, then the entire country is in trouble. The entire country is in trouble because now public officials will start going after journalists. They will start going after journalists. So this was a bad precedent because it's going to be used now maliciously to go after journalists or anyone, any social media actor or on Facebook who go after and criticize. We know the justice. Some of the judges and justices are corrupt because we see the judicial system is weak. So now, if you say, look, I think that justice, that ruling was corrupt, this precedent now makes it possible for that court to say they're going to hold you in contempt charges, and before you can even have a defense, throw your butt in prison. That is a problem right there. It's going to scare investors away. So that's going to be a problem. So I hope they got that message across, but I will hope that they try to release PK. You may not agree with his insulting. You can switch the station, turn him off, but don't start legislating from the bench. Put it in writing. Make it a law. If you're saying insulting judges is a crime, let the legislator pass a law saying that. But don't legislate from the branch. So I think this was bad because it's going to turn some people away, some investors away. So one of the comments kind of bring up some of the legal cases we've seen in the U.S., how it was treated, and kind of share that as well with you guys. So hopefully that would bring some education to the court in case they're not reading. So
thank you. Good to welcome Seleke Kromah. Welcome to the show, Chief. I've been following your Facebook page. You are one of those who are the proponent of culture and morality. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Gayman, and greetings to everybody.
I like to reflect different people's views, so every now and then I'll be reflecting those who agree or disagree. So
yeah, that's how I brought you on. Go ahead, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Gayman. Unfortunately, you say you've been following my social media page, but I think the one you're trying to mistake here is my last comment when we were on here talking about this case, but I've not wasted my time to post about this on my personal Facebook page because I see that whenever there's something that kind of spark up as a public conversation in Liberia, people who don't even have kind of expertise into the topic that is being discussed, they want to share their opinion. Sometimes they might be wrong. So I don't do that. I've been following, but I've not posted about this. I've not made any video, any live, absolutely nothing. But on the same closing argument, when we're discussing about the same perfect key issue, I did make a position. Maybe that's what you're trying to refer to. But look, for me today, if the Supreme Court of Liberia, if they've not done nothing in the country that kind of see our justice system to be weak, but today's decision to send Prophet Key to jail was one of the best decisions I've ever seen in my life. And I want to thank the Supreme Court for that. And I hope this is not going to be, a few days imprisonment for him, where we'll see next week some government officials will go and get him released as they did with the case with the former cultural ambassador. Prophet Key was in jail at the Central Prison. And more early when they released him, and the next thing we saw him with the vice president in Nimba at the time the Nimba senatorial election was ongoing. I hope that is not going to be the case. Prophet Key should actually spend 6 months in jail in Sobish, and before he's released, he should do all the apologies they asked him to do. If possible, they should ban him for another 6 months for coming on Facebook. You want to come on Facebook to talk? Let him go to other countries. But once he's in Liberia, he should not be allowed to do it. especially when he's insulting women. That is not free speech. And I would recommend to everybody here on the show tonight to listen to Councillor Gongloe short video that he made today. Or maybe some of you have watched that video. You know, and this is a clear indication. Councillor Gongloe is one of the lawyer or councillor in that country that have been advocating for people in the fourth estate, journalists, people who do talk show or whatsoever it is. So nobody's, violating Prophet Key right when it comes to free speech. Free speech is not to insult people's mother, especially women. And Prophet Key was not sent to court because he questioned the credibility of the court. No. There should be a time that we as a country, as a people, we should say, no, this is unacceptable, and we'll put an end to it. It doesn't matter whether he did it many years ago. He insulted President Weah for 6 years, and I want to disagree with you, Professor Larry. I hear you talk about two up President Weah 6 years. Prophet Key insulted the president, and President Weah constrained himself. That was a different case. You know what make it different? Two up President Weah 6 years. Prophet Key was not in the country. He was in Morocco. And Prophet Key, he used to hide in the bush to come to Nimba. Never one day Prophet Key came in the country, legally residing in the country, and sit on Facebook insulting the president. I'm sure you are going to do that. What we are experiencing today, we're going to experience the same thing back then. But now he get a guts to be in the country and just insult anybody you want to insult. This is not a precedent. I like the precedent the Supreme Court said today. It will serve as a deterrent to anybody who think that they can come and sit on the internet or on the radio to insult other people without discussing the issue. I don't agree that the Supreme Court or the justice system of our country is 100% fair. I agree. We are, sometimes there are some issues, but that's a different conversation. What our credibility was, how cases are being handled, and all the other issues. But Prophet Key or any other Liberian don't have any right to sit on Facebook or any public media institution and be insulting women and other people's parents. And for us, we say that is free speech. That is not free speech. So for me, I'm so happy today, and I hope this 6-month imprisonment will take a course. That guy should be in jail. Nobody should. Thank God he already admitted that he was guilty. He apologized. So there's nothing here like bail. Somebody going to go file bail or appeal. You can only appeal when you feel like the trial was unfair. But he said admitted that he was guilty.
Mr. Seleke.
Let me.
Yeah, come on, Pewee.
Yeah, sometimes you see, we come with too much sentiments to these things, and people will give their opinion based on what they feel about people. And that is awkward about what we call preserving our intellectual ability to do things and go to people can say, okay, if they agree with somebody today, the person is saying something that someone targeted someone of your kind, then you just want to take it from a myopic standpoint. And that's where we should not be analyzing things from. First and foremost, George, we are beyond that lead Professor Kennedy was saying, that lead Professor Key aside. There were people in the country attacking, insulting Mr. Weah on a daily basis every day. They were in the country. Nobody
insulted a mother compared to Prophet.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. What are you talking about? They did.
The mother?
Yes.
Nobody. There were people insulting Mr. Weah, his mother, beyond in the country.
No, I can't remember that.
Prophet Key came to the country when we are president. He was still doing that. He left. He used to be in all the places. It was within the bitterwood of the Republic of Liberia. But what I'm trying to say, Mr. Gentleman here, first and foremost, is not about what Councillor Gongloe said. And that's the painful aspect of listening to even Councillor Gongloe today. My regret is the 5 minutes I took to listen to that short video. Councillor Gongloe cited the Penal Code, Section 17 of the Penal, 73 of the Penal Code of the Republic of Liberia, talking about insult that can be incriminated, that you can be incriminated upon using effective of insultive languages. But that portion of the Penal Code, let me remind this landed, supposedly human rights lawyer, that portion of the Penal Code said the person shall be taken to court if a competent judge. Anybody took Professor Key to court? We will remind. Let me remind you and your counselor that there's a phrase in our Constitution, Article 74 of the Constitution, that talks about the contempt of this court and other courts. And the Constitution is reminding us that the contempt of the court, the penalty shall be fixed by the legislature, since the 1986 Constitution. And that's why somebody wrote on and said, shame on you, Councillor Gongloe. Because you cannot be a lawyer today. The reason Garguah is doing that, he's doing it because he's supporting his fellow Nima brother. That's all. He's supporting a decision because you listen to the ruling today. It didn't talk about bringing the court to public disrepute or so. It said causing the Chief Justice man. Do you know the reason why the First Amendment in this country is so powerful to the extent? Because the reason was that it cannot limit personal expression. Do you know the reason why they emphasize personal expression? Because people will get frustrated. And go back to our code of conduct. I expected this counselor to read through the code of conduct. The bar set there for public officials to be created. It's very high, as the professor was saying. Go to the code of conduct. We do have a code of conduct in the country. Do you know why the United States government insisted that we introduce the code of conduct, and Myean Sahib did everything for us to do this? Why do you think when Bill Traore sued Heron Costa in the United States of America, the judge trashed the case out? Because the bar is so high for public officials. Prophet Key, if I'm not again, listen, I don't want to dignify the issue of calling the name about the insult, the invective, and all those things. It is uncalled for. It is unacceptable. But the point, my dear brother, is we're talking about the rule of law, where in Article 74 is saying you cannot abrogate unto yourself what the Constitution did not give you. It is tantamount of creating problems. Do you know part of the reason why when the people from Nimba insisted at the time that Samuel Doe was targeting them, marginalizing them, and they joined Taylor in their numbers to bring war and kill thousands of people. And I don't want to remind you, and I will bring this. Some Mandingo people got killed, beheaded because they said they associated with Doe. But how did Nimba people started killing most of the Mandingo people? I'm just saying this so you to remind you why some are mad about this decision today. It's not about Prophet Key, my brother. It's about justice. They see people say something, don't marginalize them. They kill other people. One of my entities said she was associated with the LMA. Tell the marketing association because they were associated with Doe. She was killed. They kill innocent people for marginalization. Why do you want to send somebody to jail for 6 months? The person that did not do nothing to you whatsoever. I'm not talking about the man causing. If the man caused somebody to take him to court, it's about the justice, my dear and Seleke. It's about the justice. You know, my people got killed for in the name of guilt by association. So that's what I'm taking. I'm not taking it from the perspective of Prophet Key doing this. I'm looking at the level of free speech in this country. We call it First Amendment. That right cannot be limited.
Yeah. Sure.
No, boss.
No. Why is wrong? Did he violate the law?
Professor, let me just give you a few scenarios.
Did he violate the law? He didn't.
The current no, the current
also man caused to go to jail.
Seleke.
Prophet Key should go to jail, Sylvester.
No.
That's where he belongs.
Seleke, the current Deputy Minister of Information called for President Weah to be dragged on the street for them to kill President Weah.
Yes.
Okay. What did President Weah do about that? This very Prophet Key was in Liberia. He met Weah. He insulted President Weah on numerous occasions. He insulted his wife. He insulted his mom. Somebody from your party wrote a book about President Weah's wife, about his how he loved to have sex and do other things. They wrote
exactly.
A book. What did President Weah do? So why are you sitting here talking?
The
chief of staff.
Okay. So you are chief of staff, you from the party?
Listen,
of course, he linked to your party.
But Professor Larry knows.
No.
Professor Larry can clarify that.
Say you want to come up with that.
Doc, let me explain something to Seleke. Seleke, you see, you're not looking at it sort of holistically. You're not looking at the broader picture. You're looking at it. Look, I don't watch Prophet Key's program. I'm not that whole cussing thing, but let me explain something to you, Seleke, what I think you're missing. This is what you're missing. If you, for example, were to take to social media or you were to write an article and you criticize something that a justice or a minister says, that person can say you're tarnishing their record. They can say you're lying on them. And that is called defamation. And now they can sue you because now you can't come back and say it's free speech. Because our whole free speech thing has been tossed away. Because if you're defaming someone, you're tarnishing their record, you're insulting them. So you understand the difference? Don't look at Prophet Key. Look at the broader picture. Because if you say something or you write something, that cannot be construed as defamation, which defamation can also be treated as an insult. Let me give it to you in historical manners. Have you ever heard of the name Alexander Hamilton?
No.
Alexander Hamilton was one of the founding fathers of the whole central bank idea, the whole concept of the central bank. Alexander Hamilton used to write consistently and criticize the sitting vice president of the United States. He criticized the man so much that the sitting vice president of the United States, and Alexander Hamilton was the guy who, part of the founding fathers of the United States, the sitting vice president of the United States challenged Alexander Hamilton to a duel. So right up here over in New Jersey, a place called Fort Lee, New Jersey, they went out there early one morning for a duel where they pulled out guns. And they said Alexander Hamilton, he didn't turn or anything, he didn't fire, but the sitting vice president of the United States shot and killed Alexander Hamilton. They ran Alexander Hamilton over the Henry Hudson River over to New York for treatment, but he died. This was the guy who came up with the idea of the central banking system in the United States that everyone is using today. It was because of defamation. So the standard for defamation have risen so high that public officials shouldn't just be passing laws and things like that because someone says something about their man, their pa. We know when you do markers in high school, people that get vexed and they fight. So you have to understand, Seleke, this is what you're missing. You take the social media right now. If you were to say something criticizing the Unity Party, the president, or one of the ministers can come and say, oh, you're insulting them. You realize that? That could be treated as an insult. And that insult can also now be taken to court, and that will be treated now completely different because you have lost your defense as a First Amendment. That's what you're missing there, brother. I'm not a fan of PK. I'm not a fan of PK. I understand what the judge was trying to do. He wanted to send a message for people not to do this. But as a sitting Supreme Court, you can't do that. I understand what he was doing, but you can't do that. So think about it, Seleke. Whenever you say something on social media that may be construed as wrong or criticizing the current administration, they can sue you for defamation. Is that what you want?
But quickly, Seleke, let me put this to you again, my dear brother. Do you agree? Let's leave your man. I have said, on the show, normally we can say he's erratic, he'll do it. But I agree. Do you agree, generally, quickly here, that the guy, other Liberians on social media and other areas that also use invective on government officials that are running that country also? But yeah, maybe his own is too much. Do you agree with that? So if that's the case, if that's the case, do you agree now moving forward? Now, anyone that will come on the show and cause you, somebody can cause you. I mean, cause one of the justices on the bench. They should go to 6 months to until all the.
We have to be specific here. When you say
cause, they say the man should never cause again. So anybody cause now in the brother or then they should go to jail.
They say you should not cause women. You should not be insulting.
They agree that somebody can't get for that cause one of the justices, the female justice, should go to jail.
The judges cannot make laws.
I mean, what kind of moral person are you? You say he should cause, but not want to cause woman.
Yeah,
what is that?
So they agree he causing woman. They agree.
Okay,
I'm not support that.
He should not cause. You should not cause. That's the bottom line. So why would you be encouraging people to insult?
Judges cannot make laws. Judges cannot make. You cannot make a brand new law saying you cannot
get law for that.
Professor Larry and Sylvester.
Yeah.
When you say freedom of speech, is it about insulting? You don't come with responsibility.
The professor was saying something here. The professor was telling us something. There was certain judicial interpretations done by the U.S. Supreme Court. Do you know some of the reason why they did that? It says over time the Supreme Court has clarified and expanded the First Amendment protections. And the reason they did that because landmark cases include Garguah versus New York, 1925.
Yep.
Some of the reason why they expanded the protections because they believe there will be this kind of a situation that will come against judges, justices,
right,
or high-profile government individuals. So they expanded the protection. And Seleke, I agree that no one should even cause a woman or anybody. Nobody should do that. But we're not going to stop. We're not going to regulate human behavior. Are you going to legislate the regulate? Are you going to legislate that? Come on, you cannot legislate the behavior of
Pewee,
right?
Pewee, in essence, the court just made a brand new law. They just made a brand new law.
It's a precedent.
Yeah. They just made a brand new law. You can't come out of prison and insult women. You can't do this. You can't. That's a brand. We know that's a brand new law, right, Doc?
So probably we come and deploy intelligence on the very cheat the day he called his wife, he should go to jail. Because now you're blast, you say something to a children or some women, some cock.
So we can do this now, eh?
No one do this.
No, why you telling me you can put it that way?
No what? Listen now, the cook, the man will tell the cook now they did that this. You know they're going to treat their cook and their women.
No, but let's again one of the things we forget about in today's rule is that the Supreme Court was clear too. You know that Prophet Key should issue apologies to all Liberian women. So it's not one of the chiefs that say,
come on, man. Every time the chief say, man.
No, it's not.
Listen,
leave that.
All Liberian women.
When they knew about that? When they knew about that?
But
no,
Mr. Gayman, just tell us something, Mr. Gayman. Seleke, Prophet Key be causing, I've been here, Prophet Key causing since we have been president. Since 2018, when the Supreme Court knew that they wanted he to apologize to all the women.
So Sylvester, when you use those teeth,
go ahead, Mr. Gayman.
When you use those teeth, you change. He said you want teeth. That's why I'm going to say why you
Your argument here, you didn't state one constitutional order that was violated.
No.
You didn't cite any law that was broken.
Yeah.
You didn't cite anything within our own jurisprudence that said what he did was wrong. You didn't say it. What you are saying here is what Dr. Tong is saying here, D. Tong is saying, you guys who are grounded in your religion, whether you Baptist or you Methodist, you're Christian or Muslim, you guys are saying it is not our culture, it is not our tradition. But we're not talking about Muslim, we're not talking about Christian, we are talking about the law. The law says that this is okay. Let's agree.
Officer, give me remind me of Article 74 first.
Yes. We just ready to follow it. But now let's talk about Yeka Koluba. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeka Koluba is
the thing is caused it. Why they get go for EJ?
Yes, Yeka Koluba is part of the judicial. Right?
And I part of them all. You're part of them all.
I love you, Professor. I love you, Professor Larry. Come here.
No, you're part of them all.
Your mic in content not true because you're saying a lot of mess here tonight. You're saying a lot of mess, Seleke.
The thing was that when Prophet Key was and Yeke were the campaign, some of the campaign managers for this particular administration, that elevated basically to Supreme Court. You see in several photographs where the president and even the First Lady Katuma, were congratulating Prophet Key during the campaign. This is the First Lady. She's a lady. She was congratulating Prophet Key for a job well done on behalf of the campaign. You heard Yeka Koluba saying that President candidate Joseph Walker will not go to sleep until he speaks to me every day. You heard all of these things. Now that the devil has accomplished its aim, which is power. You heard in our intro, the young man, the former senator for Bomi County said, Unity Party is the party that will use you when they accomplish it and dump you. You heard the song from the famous actors. They use us, they abuse us, they screwed us. You see, all of these things are written. And you came out here today without quoting one law that were violated. And you saw what my brother wrote here, Mr. Wellner says.
They're making to attack us.
He said the danger in this is that there is no independent review. The Supreme Court initiated the process. The Supreme Court adjudicated the process. The Supreme Court sentenced. This is dangerous, he said. This is slippery slope. How can the Supreme Court go out there looking for a case, sitting as the judge, the jury, and the executioner? This says that this Supreme Court can decide tomorrow, Seleke, you will be put to death. And they will tell you you are guilty, and they will tell you when you will die, and they will sentence you to death. This is the precedent he's talking about. This is the slippery slope. Let me welcome Robert Garguah. Robert Garguah, welcome to this show.
Thank you, Mr. Jerome. Thank you so much. It's good to be on. Good to see the prof and everyone else on.
Great. The topic today is the Supreme Court has arrested, summoned, adjudicated, found Prophet Key guilty, sentenced him to 6 months. Not only that, but after his 6 months is served, he has to post a behavior bond, something I never heard before because I'm not a lawyer, promising that he will never curse again. If he doesn't do that, chances are he will stay in jail perpetually. And we are saying this day we live in infamy. It is an injustice to one, and an injustice to one is an injustice to all. Injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. Martin Luther King said, this is an injustice to our system, and we should not allow it to stand.
Yeah, and I would join the voices of those who agree with that to re-echo what you just said. I think this is unfortunate. And for me personally, I think I've spoken with different lawyers whom I have tremendous respect. And they have their own opinion on what contempt is and how the Supreme Court have decided to use this. But again, I still have not heard or seen any legal ramification criminally when it comes to cussing, when it comes to insults. And I think what is troubling here is that, and people need to understand, is that this is not a support for Prophet Key. This is an unprecedented decision that the Supreme Court has taken here in this case. And many people are asking now, what is the definition of insult? What is the definition of curse? What are the limitations? Because, excuse me, I've seen people on the regular basis tell anyone, excuse my language, move your dete A from Yemen. Your pa be whatever, your mom whatever. It happens routinely in Liberia. And so where do we draw this line? That it becomes criminal to cuss, because you can't just limit this to ma and pa cuss. You can't just limit this to anyone insulting someone's mother or someone's wife. You can't. How would the Supreme Court, or how should we respond if a wife or a mother or a woman insult the mother of another person or insults another woman? How do we respond? How would the Supreme Court respond to that? How do we respond if someone else insults the father of someone else? You see, this is dangerous because there is no law on our books that prohibits insults. There is no law on our books that criminalizes insults. This is just not about ma and pa cause at this point. It's not. And we can't confuse moral and ethics with law. We can't. And so for the Supreme Court to, do what they did, I think about justices like Justice Lewis. I think about justices like Justice Benz. What would they? How would they be responding to this the action of the Supreme Court on this particular matter? It would be interesting to see what their legal opinions would be on this issue. And I can tell you, just based off of that record, they may not condone Prophet Key's action, but the action of the Supreme Court to reprimand Prophet Key on the basis for which they have, I think raises a lot of red flags here. And people are listen, people are celebrating, oh, this is justice for women. Let's be very careful. Let's be very careful. We live in a country where criminals are rewarded. There are massive criminals the issue in Liberia is not moral and ethics, it's not Myean causing. No. The Myean cause is beneath the magnitude of the issues we should be addressing in our country. Myean cause has not taken us backwards. Myean cause is not part of the major bread and butter issue. Yes, we want civility. Yes, we want respect. But this have got nothing to do with some of the major issues we're talking about now. These are not issues women should be celebrating, because it's not just Prophet Key who cuss. There are women who insult other women. We see it happen every day. There are women who insult other women. How would the Supreme Court address this in our country moving forward? This is very serious. This is not just about the Supreme Court at this point. What do I do as a Liberian citizen if someone insults my mother and I don't have the power of contempt like the Chief Justice does because his mother was insulted? What do I do if my character was defamed and someone without evidence called me corrupt? Because the Supreme Court was called corrupt. There's no hidden secret. The judicial branch of government in Liberia has proved to be corrupt. The legislative branch have proved to be corrupt. The executive branch have proved to be corrupt. It's no hidden secret. We see what happened. So how do we move forward? How do we move forward? We cannot celebrate when someone goes to jail for 6 months at the level that it happened. All of this have happened in less than 3 weeks. Yet and still, we got criminals. We got war criminals. Criminals who kill babies, who eat babies. They're still roaming in offices in government. We got cases on the Supreme Court decks. We got allegations that have been made. They're still not being addressed. We got rapists. There are people who are raping our young daughters, our young girls, our sons.
There you go.
They are given due process. Young women are being raped. Our young women are being abused. Our labor laws are not followed. Foreigners are abusing our young women. People are working 7 days a week and they're getting $250, $150. That's abuse. All of these are all major issues. There are still issues when it comes to the inequality, the women having the same equal rights as men in our country. You are celebrating because someone who called Myean cause goes to jail without due process. I think this is wrong. My wife, on my way to work today, my wife was listening to Prophet Key, and I was there, and her reaction shocked me. She was like, "Wow," and I really felt that. And in that moment, I kept my mouth shut. There was no reason for me to say anything. I kept my opinions to myself because I felt that. But we can't allow our emotions. We can't allow the Constitution. The Constitution is not led by emotions. We cannot allow our emotions, our sentiments to define what these rights are. And when violated, the actions that should be taken. If Prophet Key had insulted the mother of another person, they would not have the contempt power as the Chief Justice does. They will go to civil court. So listen, I think this is wrong, and I think this is going to start a new debate, a new legal debate. I'm not a legal expert, but based on the folks that I've spoken to in Liberia and in the diaspora, this is unprecedented. This is completely wrong. Imagine had this happened under the George Weah administration. Prophet Key insulted George Weah's mother left and right. He insulted former president wife left and right, and the very people who are now praising, well, we need some civility in our society, we need some dignity with some respect. Well, dignity and respect is not limited to just Myean Pakos. Dignity and respect is also about how we treat each other on a daily basis. Dignity and respect and civility is also how we treat our respective offices. There are many issues we should be addressing. We cannot be selective on these matters. When are we going to expeditiously start arresting and sending folks, rapists to jail? When are we going to be expeditious about sending criminals to jail? When are we going to see the Supreme Court or any law court in the country act as fast as we saw what happened to Prophet Key? I think this is wrong. This is wrong.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Guys, we are reading your comment. Let me, before I go to the well-learned diplomat here, it said in the United States, there is no specific law prohibiting insults against the Supreme Court. As such speech generally protected by the First Amendment. Criticism, however harsh, of public officials and government institutions is shielded. Although this does not cover direct threat. When we talk about threat now, is that I'm going to kill you or I'm coming to your house and burn? That is not protected. But you can criticize all you want. You cannot be in a theater and say fire, fire, and say that's free speech. Those are specific laws. But you can tell the Supreme Court teacher your nose is big. Because your nose is big, you speak the way you speak, that's why you do by law. They can't jail you for it because that's what you think. Now, for those of you from the Christian faith and the Muslim faith, and this, you try to bring your belief system into our law. This is why our law is predicated on separation of church and state. We don't want your God here because your God said it's right, so it's right. Your God said it's wrong. Then you come here with your own God, your God said. So which God is right? They don't want that. We don't want that debate. That's why we said, let's stay directed by the law. So for those of you who are advocating for this, I wanted to show you the photos. When Prophet Key was cursing, the First Lady now, Katumu, during the campaign was shaking his hand, congratulating for a job well done. Isn't she a woman? But because Prophet Key was cursing Clyde Weah, she was congratulating him. George Weah's dead mother. So what we are saying here is, my friend, and to Abu, who is saying everything began with the first step. Yes. The first step says there is a judicial due process of law is the first step. Abu, if you don't know that.
But there are due process and you are giving lawyer now.
What due process? The due process says he has to go to court. And he should have the option to appeal. What option does he have to appeal?
But making me say you're wrong, sorry.
No, we're not talking about what the man said. We are talking about the process is wrong. There is no justice here. There is no process. There's no due process. Our laws, our nation is predicated on due process of law. Anyone that circumvents that is wrong. And if it comes from the Supreme Court, it's wrong. Honorable Pewee, you were in flight.
Yeah, thank you. I would just remind us that even Justice Brett Kavanaugh, right? I think the last time there was an individual that threatened his life. It was the time that the police have to move to arrest him and all things, but not for insult. But I go back to the issue about the due process Amandia Barrett spoke of just now. He alluded to. The due process, Seleke, is that due process where the man went to court and said he didn't have a lawyer, and they said they gave him a Supreme Court surrogate lawyer, a Supreme Court surrogate lawyer that threatened him to just go and told him, hey, you the first thing you do tomorrow, just go tell him sorry.
I'm saying
that that's not for that. They brought an incompetent Supreme Court hired gun. An incompetent Supreme Court hired gun, telling him the first thing you
that
do
is due process, Sylvester.
That's not due process. That's not due process.
You go to court, you don't get
the Supreme Court is not a court.
They brought a surrogate of the court. A surrogate.
He had all right to deny that lawyer.
No, but he said he didn't have option. He didn't have options, and that lawyer pulled him into going to apologize. All those things. It was a kangaroo kind of an arrangement. Yesterday arranged to punish this guy and violate the laws of our country. Listen,
Professor had lawyer against Giuliani, but all the lawyers running away from him because
the lawyers are running away from him because this is about the Supreme Court. They are afraid. They don't want the Supreme Court to punish them. This Supreme Court recklessly sanctioned lawyers that descend. That approved dissenting opinion. Why you think Councillor Gongloe that proved to be one of the straightforward men there now taking side? Why you think when Councillor Gongloe was, let me remind us quickly here. When Councillor Gongloe was president of the Liberian Bar Association, he proved to be tough at the time, and he was on the right path. When he criticized the Supreme Court at the time, the then Supreme Court Chief Justice and the justices, they rebuked him openly. Since then, he went apologize. Oh, this is nothing. He's not a serious man, that the independent person we should take seriously. Listen, if you want to stand for justice, and look at to be said, they say anyone that will want to stand by the truth, you always stand alone. Stand alone. It is appropriate to stand alone than to come and cower in, and then in the need that you always tell us this is that justice. That entire process was a kangaroo arranged system. It was not a system that said the rule of law was applied. Now, due process 74 again, let me remind you, go and take some time and read Article 74 and read Article 44. But let me take you back to 74 and I'll end here on this one. Article 74 of the Constitution is clear, abundantly clear. And you came on, it's about the reason you want to discuss some of these things because you're not a lawyer, and add that there will be wrong. No. If you are a political pundit and believe in the sufficiency of your academic prowess, you come sometimes and push some of these things because you believe in the sufficiency of your thought process. Now, if you read very well Article 74 of our Constitution, do you need a lawyer to reinterpret that for you? 74 is saying contempt of the court and the Supreme Court should be defined and fixed by the legislature. Do we need an interpretation for any legal mind that has not been done and the court is abrogating unto themselves what the Constitution did not give them? And that is tantamount to also what? Violating the Constitution via Article 2 of our Constitution. Go to Article 2 and read it. Notwithstanding anything that comes contrary to this Constitution is what? Null and void. It is illegal. So a lot of things I will give. I mean, the argument today, I will not argue on the personal perspective or feelings. I will argue via the Constitution of our country. And I think the Constitution, it was grossly butchered today, and that's mischaracterization of justice. It's terrible. And you cannot do this moving forward. And it was because of this, the same group of people said walking to Liberia. They said marginalization, blatant violation of the Constitution by the Dopoh government as they alleged. And they all supported Charles Taylor to bring insurrection into our country. 98% of those that brought the war to Liberia came from Nimba County. 98%. And and the reason why I'm emphasizing this, I want also go back deep in history. 98%, they gave reason, they said they were marginalized. So are you coming back to start marginalizing other citizens? That's why, even if the man from Nimba, but you got a dissenting opinion, and criticize you personally, and you try to remind, are you telling us the same thing you said the Grenadian did to you, trying to do it to the extent you started executing other tribal people because you believe they aligned with the Samuel Doe government at the time? You see, I'm just trying to remind you. I'm not trying to bring things. I'm reminding you.
but
I'm reminding you.
that comparison is very far, Sylvester. Why you?
No, it's not far. It's not far. The reason why I'm saying this, they walk into the country because of marginalization. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
No, Seleke, answer this now. I will end here. As per their parity of reasoning, they at the time, the same man as doing it, he or one of those that said it, they walk in Liberia because those government marginalized them. Do you agree with me that what they say? No, when you answer the down end, do you agree with me on that?
Yeah, that is public now.
That is public. And they started also carrying other people like such. The Madigo, they said Manigo aligned with those. They started carrying those people. Do you agree that happened? You think I'm emotional? I'm not emotional. I'm trying to remind us of the history of our country. What brought problem in Liberia? We should stop it. That's what I'm saying. If you don't know your history, go back and read those history. They killed those people. They said they were marginalized. And then why do you want to marginalize people in misapplying the law also? Mr. Gayman, I will rest for now. I just want to remind you, I'm not emotional about it, but I'm reminding we shouldn't do it. It's not about Prophet Key. It's about the system. It may happen to Robert tomorrow. Why Robert sit down and criticize him and Robert went to Liberia, they put Robert in jail because they say Robert disagree with somebody.
Sylvester, I challenge them.
I'm just saying, I know. I know they can do it. I'm just saying, it may be another person, Robert.
Professor Kennedy.
And that's why today we don't like Prophet Key, but we are not happy he's going to jail. We all agree with that. That's it.
Let's talk about the legal ethics. Mr. Werner, right here, that no authority should be judged in its own cause without extraordinary restraint. That is the legal restraint. That's the red line. You cannot be a judge in your own case. And even if that, you have to show restraint because the onus is on you as the highest authority. And then you butcher it. Talk to us briefly about your understanding of the authority should be judged, should not be judged in its own cause without caution, which is what's happening here.
It's the same as saying you shouldn't be a player and a referee in the same game. It's as basic as that. That's all he's saying. You see, there's one thing to rule based on sentiment, and there's another thing to rule based on the law. Here's the problem, and this is what hopefully they will come to their senses and they will suspend his sentencing because they've made their point, right? I know my sister Patience made a good point out there saying that, hey, if they didn't do what they did, Prophet Key will come out and be bragging even more. I understand that, and that's on sentiment, right? But here's the problem. You see, they may end up drawing undue attention to themselves from the international community. They may end up doing that, unintentionally. They may end up drawing because Liberia is a party to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Look it up, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. So now Prophet Key could come out and say he's been treated as a political prisoner because he criticized the justices, and he can file a complaint under that law that Liberia is a party to with the United Nations. And all of a sudden now this thing would take on a whole new international thing where people now will start looking into it and say, but wait a second, someone in Liberia went to prison because they insulted the Chief Justice, man. That is going to be the undue attention they're drawing to themselves. They could come out this weekend and say, look, listen, we made our point. Let's go ahead and suspend the sentence and then move on. Hopefully this thing will die a slow death, because I know Liberians have the attention span of a microwave. They get hot for 30 seconds, you pull it out, they get cold, they forget about it. What they're doing, because now people start asking, but wait a second, which is not even relevant to the case, but is there some truth to what Prophet Key was saying? Is the Chief Justice corrupt? Does he have a hotel? Is he a player and a referee in the same game? That could be the kind of attention they draw to themselves. You can't have a Chief Justice legislating from the bench. You can't have that. Because then every time something new comes up, they would make a brand new law. I know when we say this is unprecedented, you're not supposed to be having justices set precedents in court, because that's not good. They should leave that to the legislators and let the legislators do that. Because now they have made this sort of waffled decision where you can't insult man, you can insult pa. If you come out of prison, you got to apologize to it. Why he doesn't have the names of everybody he's ever insulted, and I'm sure he has a long list of people he insulted.
The whole world.
So somebody can say, oh, you know something? Big man assaulted me back in 2023. He didn't apologize when he came out. What are you going to do now? You're going to revoke whatever, thing and put him back in prison? So it was a nonsense sentence. And to save face, they should just come out this weekend and say, look, listen, we've made our point. Let's go ahead and suspend his the rest of his sentence because he already apologized. And trust me, I think Prophet Q, when he comes out, he would take that seriously. Yeah, I don't think he would go back to his old ways. I don't think so. I mean, but what they've done, it's bad because I know my young brother here, Seleke, is making some of these statements because everybody now has to be on their guard because defamation cannot be treated as an insult, and that insult now can also be prosecuted. And we know we had things like a table mounts, all these other things put in place to make sure that political figures weren't using the law in their power to silence free speech. So this is bad for Liberia because as an investor, I would be concerned about going to a place to go invest where the Supreme Court can make rulings because of free speech. Someone comes out and rob me, and I go and I say something bad and insult, and then all of a sudden now, as an investor, you're throwing me in South Beach? No, that's not good. That's not good. But the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights is something that Prophet Key can lean on. He can get his lawyers to go ahead and file that, and that would blow this thing up internationally. It would blow it up internationally.
And also, if I may, 30 seconds. And also, are we going to start having conversations about the kind of music that are released by musicians in Liberia? We just watched a video recently about one of Liberia's top hip hop artists performing a very vulgar and expletive music on the campus in the midst of children. I mean, I didn't see the Supreme Court this angry because again there were kids in the room and the performance was X-rated. I mean, they were talking about the same private parts of women on in that performance where babies as young as 3-4 years old were seated. So are we going to also look at, well, if you want civility, this is very dangerous that games we're playing here. And people need to look outside of the box because once you start something, then you've got to finish it. We're also about assault. We're focused on insult. What about assault? Which is more important because there are many of us, both females and males, that have been assaulted in Liberia. And the perpetrators of these assaults are some of the most powerful people in the country. Look at Yeke Koluba, for instance. Yeke Koluba always insult people all the time. He does that on a normal business. What is the Supreme Court going to do? Listen, this is just all around. This is just wrong. This is completely wrong. And even if the Supreme Court, Professor, were to go back on their decision, I think it makes them appear even more weaker, if you ask me. It makes them appear weaker. So strategically, if I were advising them, I wouldn't even advise them to go back on the decisions they made. And if they did that, we're going to question the intent of what they did to begin with. You can't just take an unconstitutional action to set an example. This is not the kind of example we want to set. This is completely wrong. And I hope that there are voices within the country that will speak out against this because I watched Mr. Cummings the other day when he was angry and he angrily responded to this whole ridiculous claim that he was gay. And he told Julius John, I'm going to have to cuss on your platform. And he said, I'm not no damn whatever. So you can't, insult cannot be limited to just my podcast. The trend that the Supreme Court has taken is dangerous, it's unconstitutional, and I hope we can speak on this. I would like to see the legislature impeach this Chief Justice. They have the power to do that. If they don't act, listen, this is going to be bad. But knowing our government,
So Robert, let me say something real quick, 30 seconds. The alternative of them letting him sit in prison, I think it's even worse. They're then kind of swallowing their pride and letting him out. Which
they're between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of weighing it, can I come in? Cost benefit analysis, and I see the cost of them keeping him there for 6 months would be even worse than going back and saying, look, I think we've sent a message right now. Let's suspend. I understand what you're saying. It kind of makes them look weak. But I think the cost of them letting him sit there is far greater than the weakness of letting him come out sooner as opposed to letting him sit. That was just my kind of mental calculation.
Okay, Seleke, real quick,
Yeah.
do you know of the Declaration of Table Mountain?
Yes, sure.
Okay. Okay, I'm
Mhm.
coming to that. The Declaration of Table Mountain is a 2007 initiative by the World Association of Newspapers and News Publishers, calling for the abolition of criminal defamation and insult laws across Africa to foster free press and freedom of the press. It argues that free, independent media are essential for democracy, economic growth, and the development, urging government to repeal repressive legislation urging against journalists and people who do the work that this guy does. The key aspects of the declaration include primarily aimed at eradicating laws that allow government to imprison journalists or muster them for criticism. And Liberia is the signatory to this declaration. Seleke, you want us to put all of these things aside because I'm a Christian and a good Christian boy don't curse.
Look, Mr. Gayman, again, for me, I've already shared my position on numerous occasions, and I think it's enough. But here is what I want to, kind of bring to everyone's attention, including the people watching us. For me, I feel like sometimes we kind of hard on ourselves, and I'm not trying to make excuse for people that are into public offices and all of that, but we set a standard for people that are in public offices to the extent that when they try to do their best, we don't stand with them, but we only see their shortcoming. I see a lot of people talking about the credibility of the justice system in Liberia and so forth. Yes, the corruption. I hear Brother Robert talking about, insult is not one of the issues that is holding us backward. Clear enough, and that is understandable. But here is another thing too. Just because the justice system is corrupt, quote unquote corrupt. I'm not the one saying it,
You're scared now? You're scared?
You see,
just
you
because
see, you scared now. It's why you think they will pick you from Kigali. That's straight.
Sylvester, please allow me, please. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just because some Liberians believe that the justice system is corrupt, so that should be a justification for anybody to come on the internet to be abusing women. That is not a justification.
Why
and here's
women?
another thing.
Why women? Why you just talk about women? Cursing is cursing. Why women?
There's another thing.
Seleke, can you be kind enough to give me a few minutes because I have to leave? I have to leave for my appointment, but I want to say something real quick.
Backlash. Some of the people that kind of disagree with the Supreme Court are giving now to the full bench of what the Supreme Court did in the Prophet Key case. For me personally, I didn't see that level of solidarity when the Supreme Court ruled against the impasse at the House of Representatives. And few days later, especially when the president made a statement publicly, disagreeing with what the Supreme Court had ruled against, to respect the same law that all of you are referring to. Say, oh, we should protect our law. We should protect our law. I didn't see that level of solidarity to stand with the Supreme Court. I didn't see that. But today, because it's not in our favor, so even people in Liberia, that's a disappointing part. Most of them, they are saying, oh, the Supreme Court is this, they're setting a bad precedent and all of that. But these same people, they ruled in the case of the House of Representatives that the majority bloc, they were acting unconstitutionally, that was not the right way to remove a speaker. And a few days later, the president of the country went and issued a statement that he's going to work with the Seleke Kromah. How many of us that say no will stand with the Constitution, the law, as we now doing that? So that's the disappointing part, Mr. Gayman. And for me, look, I understand all the different constitutional quotations that people are giving here, that they should follow due process and all of that. But when it comes to people like Prophet Key, in fact, Professor Larry, you talk about a Prophet Key is being released, he will have some level of change in terms of communicating. It's not going to happen because this is exactly what is man used to get to permanence in our country. So
Seleke,
for
let
him
me
to
say
leave
something real
that,
quick. Let me say
to
something real
just
quick,
go
Seleke.
normal on a normal note to discuss the issue,
Seleke, let me say something
as
before
if
I
there's
leave.
no possibility on that.
Let me
So
say
at the
something
end of
before I
the
leave.
day,
Can you
I
hear me?
believe that
Yeah,
with all
Siddiqui,
the
1 minute. He calling you to a point of correction. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to say something because I have to leave for an appointment. But I think Sarah just mentioned something.
no, I think for Larry is muted though. I'm not
No,
getting
something wrong with your stuff.
Everybody can hear me, man, except for you.
Yes.
I think Sarah just said something that is important, right? She said the day Keys come out, it would be explosive. And that had me thinking because he could possibly even be perceived as someone who, I don't want to say martyr, but public emotion will kind of be up there because here's someone who did time because the Supreme Court justices punished him while they were violating the Constitution. I think it's going to grow his base.
Of course.
It's going to end up growing his base.
Of course.
He becomes now a symbol of sort of like a resistance. The international community will pick up on it. I think Sarah's making a good point because when he comes out now, he's going to have even more followers now.
Of course.
I think all of this is going to backfire against what their intent was. I think it might end up empowering him because now what's going to happen? You can't jail everybody for insulting a judge for saying a judge is corrupt, because then you're essentially now giving the judges then a guy that jail, being able to do whatever it is that they're doing that is considered corrupt, because now no one can criticize them because the Supreme Court said if you were to do so, you can find a person in contempt and send him to prison. So yeah, Sarah made a good point. When he comes out, if he does spend the 6 months in there, he comes out, it's going to be a big problem for the Supreme Court. All right, folks, I'm going to listen to you guys offline. Yeah, go ahead, Doc.
Thank you, Professor. I just think it's inhumane to keep somebody in jail for 6 months for such for that kind of created crime or that created conviction that they came up with. That's something they created.
They're making stuff up on the fly.
Yeah, they're making stuff out and reading stuff. I mean, that's the highest court of the land. For God's sake, y'all got better thing to deal with. To sit down in court and you sitting there acting like it's a landmark ruling and something like you're doing. That is disgraceful. I mean, nobody support Prophet Key, profanity and stuff like that. But you do not treat people like that. These I'm wondering if the people understand the law or not, or they are just ignorant of the law. Because what we saw there today shows limitation, Mr. Gayman, of the judicial mind. It shows the limitation, because you won't have a Johnny Lewis, you won't have a Charles Bronski, you won't have what the former Associate Justice what's the guy name, man, Philip Banks. Even trying to take up a case like that. What they did today, they brought a complete disgrace to the Liberia Supreme Court, and I'm so embarrassed for that. You don't treat people like that. Sending somebody to jail for 6 months and tell him that is he a man or pa to tell him that he will never cuss again or never do certain? Is he a child or something telling him that he would never cuss again, never do certain things? Man, I don't want to see if one of them were threatened or something like that. They probably will call for immediate execution, because you called in for somebody to go to jail for 6 months jail for cussing. I don't want to see if they threaten you. They probably will send them to life for immediate execution. But there's a disgrace for our country. It's a complete disgrace to justice in Liberia, and nobody should be hailing that ruling. I mean, even some of the most of the people who see here hailing that ruling, either doing it on ethnic lines, stuff like that, and that's why they are doing it. But we saw here President Weah. People wrote book about President Weah, how he how he performed in the room, or what his style, or what his something of going. What did President Weah do? President Weah did not do anything. Prophet Key insulted President Weah. The very Seleke who were talking, and somebody went on and insulted Mr. Comey and called him gay and did everything to him. What happened? Okay, what was the Supreme Court when other people were being insulted? What was the Supreme Court when people were being raped in that country? Prophet Key didn't just go to Liberia, he been in Liberia. There was a lady who sued Prophet Key. What happened? They dropped the kid, the Liberian culture ambassador. Didn't they go and drop that kid? Or the same Supreme Court order them who came out the law, whatever they came with, and dropped that? Disgrace. Useless Supreme Court justice, alcoholic Nyami Bese.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is 7 o'clock here. I know we want to go on and on and on, but today is Friday.
Yeah, today's Friday, man.
We have to. Now
Let's take some.
guys,
Man, maybe we can take some call and then we call it a day.
Yeah, Monday is President's Day here, so there will be no school. We're going to have all day to talk. Some of the issues, trending issue, we're going to be relying on our producer on the ground, Myean, to follow. And let us follow this thing to a conclusion, a logical conclusion. We cannot let this stand. This is an injustice. Can you imagine me that be there with the guy for cursing George Weah? I'm defending him. This is what we are talking about. This man is going to have so much fan from both intellectual, legal, spiritual, you name it. They're gonna come, because this is not how you treat your citizens, man. You can disagree. Guys, this is the telephone numbers if you're on the ground. Myean, can you please call the numbers?
So if you want to make your contribution, 077764996 plus 23177764996. The time is roughly 3 minutes downside, 12 o'clock from our end here. 077764996 plus 23177764996. Just call and make a contribution on the closing argument show. Most of our topic we have been discussing here. Let me pick up this first caller who is on the line here. Hello, caller. Okay, how is Jacob Rehab? Okay, thank you all so much. Go ahead.
Yeah, look go to the perfect. You see, there are things that will happen to continue to look at it. Look at it. It's like Joshua that judgment is okay on perfect today. When we get to do that, causing somebody's mind is crying in the country. When we get to do that, when you start making for him and doing and keep for the team, you try to jump when they are very, very, very doing it will go on your hand. When I met to away after this, after that, they go out and really all the business. So I want they didn't do anything.
That's Representative Fuller. Yeah, the local talk.
No, that's from Fuller. Family.
Yeah, family.
Okay, you know what I mean? You take too much to say that here, in that giveaway. Probably call judicial player, the photo ambassador. I want to accuse to the higher court. They put out with case or I trade over a lot of men who pray what that. They embrace all I want. Now we to this guy come to him. They say, then do I be wrong?
Okay.
As according to the committee, there's a wrong, useless, and very stupid people being that India on the water. Thank you.
Okay, thank you also, man. Let's pick up this next caller who is on the line here. Hello, caller. Yeah, your name and where do you call from? Okay, make a point.
The full bill of the devil, to steal, to kill, and to God. You gotta see the thing that the government is doing now. Few more past, because the one of the government official rate, and they they now passing around. They say looking for the body. I mean that's a rape the girl. Why now passing around? They came to court, but they say looking for the thing to show that why they never rape the girl. And they see.
Go ahead. Okay, we lost that caller. 077764996. Please stay away from monitor. Wow, please don't do that. Or 077764996 plus 23177764996. Let's pick up this person was on the line here. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Yeah, your name and where do you call from?
I'm calling from Kenya.
Okay, make your contribution.
Yeah, I want to know now people carrying people to code for Marcos about Marcos. Can someone carry someone to code for Marcos?
Okay. That question is good for the Supreme Court. So 077764996. Let's see who is on the line there. Hello, caller.
Yeah, good evening. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Your name and where do you call from?
My name is Amma. I call from Barnesville. I listen to most of your callers that call the God has dropped the land and talking about during any case the trash out. No, Prophet King was released on jurisdiction because Prophet King never insulted during any in Liberia. So it was the Moroccan government the Shelter Community Moroccan government for this. He did it in Liberia and he did the Chief Justice. So Prophet King insulting for more around here. People still want to hear him for that. No, it is wrong. Because that's not the model, so they'll be satisfied. So Prophet King goes to the jail that is direct to other people.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so 077764996. Let's pick up this next caller. Who is on the line here? Hello, caller. Yes, good morning. Your name and where do you call from?
I call from Bushotech.
Your name?
I'm Mr. Fafon.
Okay, make a point.
Yeah, my point is that Prophet King have been abusing all other people around here, even on Facebook. Why is it that no one make it out of issue beside the Chief Justice and today that they are lacking up? If you do one, they ain't be there for 1 year. Thank you.
Okay, let's pick up this next caller here. 1 year. Hello, caller.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, your name and where do you call from?
Something to I'm calling from Ghana.
Ghanaians, make your contribution.
I thank you for the topic. But something even though you are not a Supreme Court lawyer, but something I want to know. Suppose the man was his mother. Will he get into Supreme Court too?
Okay, thank you.
You still want to do what? Wow, Liberia, man, that is
guys.
amazing.
We have on Monday. We got to discuss among other things, but the Reverend Luther Tappe, Unity Party chairman, was on one of the local shows. He said the only future that the opposition has is to join the Unity Party. Let the opposition join and we will give them jobs. Luther Tappe, the chairman of the Unity Party, is telling the opposition, your only chance or choice is to join us so you get a job. We'll delve into that. Dr. Peabody, the Unity Party, is making it clear. The only chance you get is to join us or you can forget it.
I guess the new name for Liberia now is the Republic of Unity Party. That's a new name for Liberia now because when I thought the president should be the president of all Liberians. Job creation should be for all Liberians. Now you saying that the only way they can get jobs is to join Unity Party, then just change the name of Liberia now to the Republic of Unity Party. Then everybody will come join to get jobs. That's my only take on that.
Robert Garguah, a few months ago, we had Abu Kamara on this show. He says, come 2028, we will have control. Joseph Walker will have appointed 5 new justices. We will control the Senate. We'll control the House. We are going to change the elections commissioner to all of these people will be under our jurisdiction. We don't see any pathway for anybody else winning. And then you see an insider like the chairman. When someone like Abu Kamara speaks, we say, these guys are partisan. But when the chairman of the political party says your only chance and choice is you better join also, at least we can get you some job. Where is the Supreme Court? This is even more detrimental. This is national security. This is bordering on national security. When you threaten that there will be no democratic choice, you will take the choice away from the folks. Their only choice is now to join you so they can share job. This is where I thought thinkers would be and say, you know what? These are thoughts that are detrimental to our democracy, to our civility, our peace. But instead, we are locking ordinary people up for what they claim to be invectives against them. This is serious stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this is a reverend. This is a reverend who is speaking like the way he spoke.
But Raul, not cutting off, but he's the one that ate the money right after the election when he gave it to him to give it to the people.
I was going to say that he's the guy. And what were the consequences for his action? I mean, he still has the ears of the president. He remains the chairman of the incumbent party. And I wonder what kind of jobs he had prior to Unity Party winning the elections. And what it also says, Mr. Jerome, is they have no intent to expand the private sector because any serious country does not depend on the bureaucracy of government entities to create jobs. I don't care how big the size of your government, you will never be able to create or employ every single Liberian. And so the success of the private sector, the success of the economy is not dependent on how many folks you're able to give political appointments to. It is judged on the quality of jobs created and the competitiveness of the private sector. We haven't seen that. So it's very clear that these guys have no serious plan when it comes to expanding the private sector. The private sector remains dead. Is 2 years going in, and even if they're going to argue in 2029 that they have started the process, how long does it take for us to understand some of the economic policies of this government and their articulation of how they intend to get the needle moved. And so God bless their heart. But let me say this: they can have within their jurisdiction. Listen, I don't take Abu Kamara serious, and I got to say, I don't take the chairman of the party seriously. I take the Liberian people serious. I think the Liberian people decision to discontinue their mandate with CDC and the former president, and to give an opportunity to Unity Party and Joseph Boakai. They will be called to make similar decision come 2029, and I don't care whether the election commission is under their jurisdiction. I don't care whether the Supreme Court, all 5 or 6 judges are are appointed by the president. It doesn't matter. If the Liberian people go to the polls and decide that this government did not come to rescue us, they rescued themselves. If they went to court to decide that the economy was not rescued, Unity Party partisans and politicians were instead rescued. If they went to the ballot box and decided that security has not improved, and most importantly, if they feel as though that their rights to free speech is being infringed upon, they will make that decision. And there's nothing Joseph Barker and Unity Party can do about it. My only advice is you need to be careful. You need to be careful because the same thing that got us to where we are today as a country, I see some of these things being repeated. I've seen people being targeted for political reasons. And you need to be careful, and people need to understand, even if Unity Party had 12 years of leadership, Unity Party will not forever be in power. And the people that you are targeting today for political reasons could target you tomorrow for the very reasons. So we need to be very careful how we move in the country. Politics should be about improving the lives of the people, Mr. Jerome. Politics should be about the issues. We need to start debating the issues on who has the best infrastructure development plan, who has the best economic plan, who can create jobs for our country. We should not be discussing on the basis of we will not give you a job if you're not part of us. This is not even on the business of competency. The chairman is not saying, well, Liberia is open to all Liberians. How does the president say Liberia is open for business? And then the chairman comes and says, well, your only opportunity to be part of this economy is to join us, right? Or you don't get job at all. Liberia does not belong to Unity Party. It does not belong to the chairman of the Unity Party. So why would he speak like that? Well, he will speak like that because this is the environment we find ourselves, where people are selectively held accountable for actions, what they say, or things that they've done. This is what it is, and it's just sad. It's sad. What the message the Supreme Court have sent out today is that mine and a podcast, even though I don't agree to it, even though this is not my style of communication, I'm educated enough to indulge intellectually to discuss the issues. This is not my style. But the Supreme Court have basically said, mine and a podcast pose more threat to our democracy and our civility, our morality, our ethics than a minister who stole from the Liberian people. This is the message they've sent today. That a man and a podcast pose more threat to our environment and our children and our security than men in powerful positions who are raping babies and young girls. This is the message they sent today. They sent a message that a man and a podcast will quickly go to jail and be reprimanded than a man or people, warlords, who brought war to our country, senselessly killed thousands of our people, senselessly displaced thousands of our people. This is the message they're sending today. If we had this level of urgency by setting example of things that are not tolerant, that we will not tolerate in this country, imagine how far Liberia will be today, Mr. Jerome. Imagine if we were sending a very clear message to corrupt officials, to killers, to murderers. Imagine how far Liberia will be today. But this is not the kind of message we're sending. We're sending a message that it's okay to steal. It's okay to kill. It's okay to lie. It's okay to assault our women and our men and our young boys. But if you insult the Supreme Court, if you insult his mom, it's okay to insult everybody else, ma and pa. But don't dare to insult the Supreme Court. Imagine if people are being held in contempt for insulting the Supreme Court outside of the court. What would happen if they were insulted inside of the court?
They will hang you.
Imagine that. That's a true disruption of the court. That's a true pose of threat when you insult inside of the court. So if people are being held in contempt for insulting the Supreme Court and the judges and his mother outside of the court, what will happen inside of the court? That's a death penalty. It's a death penalty. This is the country we find ourselves in today. This is the country. We have emboldened criminals. Today, they got the message loud and clear. And we know exactly where the Supreme Court stand on these matters.
Yep, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to go home and Dr. Peabody tell your wife to cook that nice fufu soup
I'll tell you.
I will be your guest.
Come on. Any day. I had some last night. I'm just waiting to leave. I'll go and get some more. Right in the community around here, you know.
You're gonna refuel, huh?
Yeah, that's the benefit of living. That's the benefit of living on that side of the town.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Let's do this on Monday. We're going to expand on this. We're going to expand on the Unity Party's chairman's plea to the opposition. We would like to hear from the opposition. What are they doing to prepare for this kind of threat about our democracy, and they stand no chance, and all of that? We want to look into that. We want to continue to talk about this Supreme Court ruling, and to our brothers and sisters out there, please, I can feel that most of you are fearful, even picking up the phone and calling because of the tension in the country. They fear for the regular mom and pop. If you are powerless, if you're not in government and you don't have the top positions, the power that be can do anything they want to do, pick you up at will. And that is something that should bind us. We should say this, not in our house. I want to thank you, Dr. Peabody. Your closing parting word with our foot for the weekend.
Well, Kurt, have a great weekend. Know that the only thing you have is your freedom of speech. Don't let anybody table you from expressing your free speech. It is not a crime to criticize. It's not a crime to get mad or insult somebody. It's not good to insult anybody, but it also is not a crime to insult people. Let me say that Liberia became one of the worst countries when it comes to the rule of law. We saw it today, and it's a sad day for our country. Thank you, guys. Have an excellent weekend.
Thank you. Monday, guys. Monday.
All right, guys.
Robert, you take care. All right, guys. Hold it down. Let me end this.
Disappointment. Now the vice president often tell me since he got a seat as vice president, how many persons have I recommended in this government to serve in the government as presidential appointee? 0. Every appointment in Nima County was done by him. He and I would discuss something as a brother to implement it. You will bypass me and do different things. I don't talk on it.
Now you need to see us. The thing we saw, it frustrates us. So why can't you lie? Why can't you steal? Why can't you allow the citizens to be? You see, we just tell you that why we voted you. But you fool us, you screw us, you use us and later on abuse us. So why? The government should lie. Why? But that's the question that we ask.
The good person in our whole United Party, that President Baka. You want to say that again? The only person that appreciate good among all the United Party for that President Baka. The rest are ungrateful. The right, they use you and dumb you. But President Baka, if all of them were taking the President Baka and behaving the President Baka, United Party will have another chance in 2029. Just for now, they do not regard people that help them. I'm not.
Of our soldiers were executed on this party ground. 2 at the back and 1 right at the headquarters. The man who shot and killed our people today is a darling boy in the Liberia National Police. They brought him back to shoot more guns. Get ready to shoot. Because we challenge the status quo appropriately.
Inform them in the violence or any student because of their action. It will be the day the entire Garguah administration will cut down. We will massively violate the students in this country and we'll shut down the Garguah administration. The day that happens, we have the capability to do so. And if they think this is the renovation project is a joke, let them try it. The fall of the Garguah administration begins with this. If they think they will tumble on any student in this country or at the university like Garguah and water with impunity, while our chairman saving opponents and logic in the Western world, while we are subjected to actual poverty and bad learning conditions here, and the thing will say.
In the first 100 days, no car will get stuck on a major road in this country. And I mean it.
You say you're a lie?
It's going down. First blow. There you have it.
That led to decades of war still run deep. But so too does the longing for reconciliation. A reconciliation defined not by political bargaining or by an artificial balance of power by tribe, region, religion, or ethnicity, but by the equality of opportunity and a better future for all Liberians.
Garguah can lie, the government, all the ministers in the government, they can lie. They don't put all hustle, they put hustle, they lie. Everything they say, they never say the truth.
Today, the supporters of His Excellency Joseph Boakai presents him as a poor man from Lofa and asserts that he will understand the plight of the poor people. Fellow Liberians, do not be fooled. Vice President Boakai is not poor like you, not even as me. As Vice President, his office received more money from the government budget than any other Vice President has received in Liberia's history. He has enjoyed some of the best and most lucrative government jobs.
First of all, there's this, what I call sort of vicious lie about the fact that Mr. Pewee is gay or bring gay lifestyle to Liberia. It's complete bullshit. When people can accuse you of stealing people's money, when they can accuse you of being involved in the war, anything, people don't make up stuff. They don't make up shit. Excuse my language, right? So it's complete nonsense. I'm married, 8 Teresa, 2 children, 5 grandchildren. I believe in traditional family values, so it's complete bullshit, complete nonsense.
Jamaku, young man, vice president, young man that vice president, the major stole 500,000. I mean, Jamaku, the major went to I forgot that Jamaku. The majors went to Ghana, the fit, and they may bring it all company in the country. I mean, Kun can reach yourself. Kun man, you know, Kun, but I want to sophisticated, quiet, hardcore rule in Liberia. But Liberia,
when 2029 come and pass, then you finally leave. Mission is completed. Now, what the rules of engagement? When the war ended, the guy said, the captain, the commander said, mission complete. There wounded outfits, all men on board.
Everywhere there is no school, I will put school. And everywhere there is school and school in bad condition, I will renovate it. I told them, towns and villages, everywhere you will have lights in a town for children to play, for people to see. I told them, every town will have safe drinking water.
If child failure is the problem, he will be out of here in the twinkle of an eye. And I say, let well-meaning Liberians come home
If we respect this constitution, a government formed in Accra is a violation of Article 1 of the Constitution. Let them come home. Let that government be formed in Monrovia.
The government that capital road, small, that road, B road, all kinds of dollars. I think the reason Joseph Boakai will not do much because the old man, the papa is suffering. The papa loves the country, but he can't make it. The criminal there around him, they sophisticated than him. They are sophisticated criminals, so they can't make it.
Your league Costa, God know how to pay people. It's just simple. Costa that accused everybody here but himself. Everybody, Joe, we join, we accuse Joe, he killed Joseph Boakai. Boakai still living. Joe, no, you leave my brother. He made me senator. He almost made Joseph Boakai president until he screwed up. We gave God the glory. Yeah. Well, Boakai, when he screwed, he said, oh, we don't want to make sure we fought for him to be reconciled with the president. And then the people who fought for him. Look, Yoli Costa, you come. And Costa on a podcast, he said, they don't been calling me. Okay. The time you were calling me for me to carry the president, Boakai, did I put it on radio? That immaturity to do what he talking about.
And I guarantee you, when we finish, there will not be a winner or the loser. Today, we all wear the jersey of Liberia. And the victory belongs to the people, to the peace, and to our democracy. As we begin to build upon the foundation of this new Liberia, I, George Seleke Kromah, the new president, will first give thanks and praises to the Almighty God for the blessing He has bestowed upon our country. And I say, my people, thank you,
We elected on 85 irresponsible men what happened to our country. We elected on 85 irresponsible men to govern this country, not to be very irresponsible.